Chapter 391. Ning Shu rode his own horse and led In Yu's horse. The unconscious In Yu was lying on the horse's back. Ning Shu flicked the whip in his hand and whipped In Yu's body. It was too damn annoying. How could there be such a person? In Yu, who was whipped by Ning Shu, groaned and did not wake up. When they returned to the general's mansion, the old madam was waiting anxiously. When she saw the unconscious In Yu, her expression turned ugly. Ning Shu explained, "Granny, In Yu wanted to barge into the palace, so I had someone knock him out." Ning Shu did not want to tell the old madam that he was the one who did it. The old madam sighed and had someone bring In Yu back to the room. She said to Ning Shu, "Ling Xian, you did the right thing. Now the general's mansion can only rely on you and me." The old madam grabbed Ning Shu's hand and patted it. "In Yu is lucky to have a wife like you." Was it a blessing? However, In Yu did not know how lucky he was. It was ironic. It was supposed to be the man who protected the family, sheltered the family from the wind and rain, was filial, and raised the children. However, the woman had to support the entire family. A muddle-headed man was really scary. She could be so calm because she did not love anyone who did not have any fluctuations in his heart. People who fell into a whirlpool of emotions were irrational. Ning Shu said to the old madam, "The general's mansion will be fine." The old madam had been working too hard recently. She did not look energetic, but In Yu could not see it. Ning Shu walked into the room and saw In Yu lying on the bed with tears in the corners of his eyes. Ning Shu sneered and unbuttoned In Yu's clothes. He turned over and took a silver needle to the side of In Yu's waist. In Yu groaned in pain and sweat poured out of his body. Ning Shu pulled out the silver needles with an indifferent face, helped In Yu put on his clothes and then locked the door. During dinner, there were only Ning Shu and the old lady at the table. The old lady sighed and said, "Let Ling Yun out." Ning Shu put down his bowl and chopsticks and said respectfully to the old lady, "Mother, Ling Yun is not young anymore and is still ignorant. If she marries into her husband's family like this, I'm afraid it's not a marriage but a feud. Didn't she think about what kind of disaster it would bring to the general's residence if she let her father out today?" The old lady sighed, waved her hand and said tiredly, "Whatever you say." Ning Shu saw that the old lady didn't want to eat. She didn't even touch her chopsticks. Ning Shu scooped a bowl of soup and handed it to the old lady. He said, "Mother, drink some soup. It's not good for your health if you don't eat anything." Ning Shu really didn't want anything to happen to the old lady. The old lady was an old lady from a feudal society. There were some things that Ning Shu still needed the old lady to remind him. Although this body was the general's wife, it was nothing in front of the royal family. The old lady drank half a bowl of soup and didn't drink anymore. She returned to her room to rest. Ning Shu went to the ancestral hall to see In Ling Yun. He opened the door with a creak. In the dim ancestral hall, In Ling Yun was no longer kneeling on the ground. Instead, she was sitting on a praying mat. When she saw Ning Shu enter, she hurriedly said to Ning Shu, "Mother, you're here to let me out." Ning Shu closed the ancestral hall door. He looked at In Ling Yun and asked, "Do you know your mistake?" "Mother." And Ling Yun wanted to pull Ning Shu's sleeve coquettishly, but Ning Shu avoided her and only looked at In Ling Yun coldly. And Ling Yun looked at her mother's face flickering under the flickering candlelight. Her mother's eyes were so cold that it was frightening. And Ling Yun felt wronged. "Mother, you don't love Ling Yun anymore." Ning Shu took a deep breath and said indifferently, "I asked you if you know your mistake." I know my mistake." And Ling Yun immediately said, "Mother, can you let me out?" Ning Shu pointed at the rows of ancestral tablets. His voice was like thunder. "Tell me in front of the ancestors where you were wrong." And Ling Yun was frightened by Ning Shu's terrifying appearance. She immediately started crying. "Mother, don't be like this. Ling Yun is scared." Ning Shu only looked at her. And Ling Yun cried as she looked at Ning Shu. She saw her mother's gaze was as cold as a knife. When she looked at her, it was like a sharp blade piercing towards her. It was also like an ancient well that reflected the moon. It was treacherous and terrifying. And Ling Yun was scared in her heart. She cried even louder. "Mother, I know my mistake. I really was wrong. I shouldn't have let father out. What else? Ning Shu asked. What else? And Ling Yun looked at Ning Shu. She was a little confused. Ning Shu's heart was burning with anger. He was about to explode. After doing so many missions, Ning Shu had never felt so helpless and angry. Treating innocence as cuteness. Naivety was really killing people. Ning Shu was glad that he had sent Yu away in advance. Otherwise, he couldn't imagine what kind of chaotic scene it would be. This kind of love and hate entanglement really burned his brain. Ning Shu reached out and touched the tears on Ling Yun's face. And Ling Yun's tears turned into a smile. Mother. Ning Shu smiled and said, kneel properly. Don't be lazy. In this ancestral hall, the ancestors' spirits are watching you. When you think it through, they will let you out. Mother. The smile on Ling Yun's face froze. She looked at Ning Shu in disbelief. Ning Shu turned and walked out of the ancestral hall. And Ling Yun in the room reacted. She banged on the door and shouted, Mother, let me out. Mother, I'm so scared. Ning Shu stood outside the door. Hearing Ling Yun's heart-wrenching voice, a complicated feeling welled up in his heart. There was heartache, hatred, and an indescribable melancholy. These were clearly the emotions of the original owner. Mother, Mother, how can you do this to me? I hate you. I hate you. You weren't like this before, Mother. And Ling Yun banged on the door and cried. She didn't want to stay in the ancestral hall. She kept feeling that there were pairs of invisible eyes looking at her. Mother, Mother, Ling Yun hates you. Mother, I was wrong. Let me out. Ning Shu stood at the door and said, in the past, Mother spoiled you too much, causing you to be unable to distinguish right from wrong. From today onwards, I won't spoil you anymore. When Ling Yun heard Ning Shu's voice outside the house, she cried even louder. It was especially unbearable for a person who doted on her to suddenly treat her badly. And Ling Yun was very angry now. She even resented her mother. She said without thinking, Mother, you're just angry because I let father out and he went to look for Princess Mingzhu. That's why you're angry and vent your anger on me. Ning Shu, yes, I'm venting my anger on you. Who told you to be my daughter? I gave birth to you and raised you. What's wrong with venting my anger on you? Because what you owe me, I don't owe you. Ning Shu said indifferently. Mother. And Ling Yun was stunned. Kneel properly. The ancestors are watching you. Ning Shu said indifferently. Chapter 392. Ning Shu asked Zhu to bring him a praying mat. He knelt in front of the ancestral hall and said to Ling Yun, kneel properly. You're not the only one who did something wrong. I also did something wrong. And Ling Yun saw her mother kneeling on the ground through the crack in the door and didn't know what to say. She just shouted, Mother, kneel, Ning Shu said coldly. With Ning Shu outside, Ling Yun's heart calmed down. She knelt on the praying mat and looked around. She felt that the ancestral hall was gloomy. Zhu? Put a cloak on Ning Shu. Ning Shu closed his eyes and circulated his qi to extinguish the burning anger in his heart. She had to stay calm. Otherwise, she would be no different from the original owner. If she, an outsider, was so angry and irritable, then Wei Lingxian, who was in this situation, was like being roasted in a fire. All kinds of emotions could drive a person crazy. She always felt that there was some kind of power that made people crazy and desperate. If the heavens wanted to destroy people, they first had to make them crazy. Mother, are you there? And Ling Yun heard that it was quiet outside and couldn't help but ask. Ning Shu made a sound of acknowledgement. And Ling Yun's heart calmed down immediately. And Ling Yun asked Ning Shu, Mother, what did you do wrong? Ning Shu said coldly, I doted on you too much. You didn't know right from wrong and didn't know the ways of the world. Based on your own preferences, you arbitrarily decided right and wrong. You even brought harm to the entire general's residence. You're ashamed to face the ancestors of the Yin family. And Ling Yun bit her lip and didn't say anything. She felt wronged and scared. Her mother, who loved her, shouldn't be like this. Ning Shu moved his knees and closed his eyes, reciting the incantation for a peerless martial art in his heart. Ning Shu felt that he needed to exchange for a secret manual that could calm one's heart, such as the heart-cleansing incantation. And Ling Yun called out from time to time to check if Ning Shu was outside. As long as Ning Shu responded, and Ling Yun's heart would be incomparably calm. "Mother, do you hate Princess Mingju?" And Ling Yun asked. Ning Shu faintly said, "Ling Yun, there are some things that you have to see with your own eyes. Put yourself in mother's shoes and treat yourself as mother. What do you think?" Ning Shu continued, "You don't have to stand on your mother's side. Let's talk about you. In the future, when you get married, your husband will fall in love with a woman of noble status. You will face the possibility of being abandoned. Not only that, the child you raised will have to call someone else mother. The husband you love doesn't love you, the child you love doesn't love you. You will grow old and have no one to rely on. You will die a miserable death. After you die, no one will burn any paper offerings for you, while your beloved husband will be in love with someone else. Will you like the woman who stole your husband and your child?" Ning Shu's voice was very calm and indifferent. However, thunderclaps exploded in Ling Yun's heart, making her body tremble and mournful. She said with a crying voice, "Mother." Ning Shu sighed and said, "Ling Yun, this matter is far from simple. Think about it carefully. I hope that the general's mansion will be safe. I hope that you and your brother will be safe." This was the wish of the original owner of this body. She wanted to minimize the damage in this disaster as much as possible. As for Wei Lingxian wanting to return to the days without Princess Mingju, it was impossible. What happened was what happened. Wei Lingxian cared about these two children. Ning Shu had tried his best to make these two children understand things. Damn, it was really difficult for her, who had never given birth to children, to educate them. "Mother, Princess Mingju said that she didn't want to steal father from you. She said that she could stay by father's side regardless of the status. She said." And Ling Yun couldn't continue in the end. Ning Shu didn't get angry. He said to Ling Yun, "What else? What kind of person do you think Princess Mingju is?" "Princess Mingju is an approachable person. She is elegant and refined. Moreover, she is overflowing with talent. She can even compose poems," and Ling Yun said. Ning Shu said, "No matter how approachable Commandery Princess Mingju is, she is still a Commandery princess of the royal family. She has a noble status and is not equal to us. She can ignore it, but if she does, it will be disgraceful." That night, Ning Shu and Ling Yun talked for a while. Ning Shu knelt at the door for the whole night. When he got up, his legs were numb. When he opened the door of the ancestral hall, he saw Ling Yun lying on the ground. Touching her head, he felt that she had a fever. Ning Shu unhurriedly asked Ju to bring the feverish Ling Yun into the room. To put it bluntly, Ning Shu would rather Ling Yun be sick like this than see her jump up and down all day. After giving Ling Yun cold medicine, old madam came over and saw that her granddaughter was sick again. She sighed and blamed Ning Shu for keeping Ling Yun in the ancestral hall all night and making her sick. Ning Shu didn't say anything. Old madam kept muttering things like "evil creature" and so on. While Ling Yun was still sick, and you woke up and wanted to go out, Ning Shu directly ordered people to seal up the windows to prevent Yu from running away. Old madam closed her eyes and didn't say anything to Ning Shu's actions. There were tears in the corners of her eyes. Ning Shu entered the room and looked at Yu. He said, "Yu, before you calm down, you should stay in this room." And Yu looked indifferently at Ning Shu. "Do you think you can trap me like this?" Ning Shu said indifferently, "I know I can't trap you. I just want you to think clearly. You carry the lives of everyone in the general's residence on your shoulders. Are you sure you want so many people's lives to fulfill your love with Princess Mingju? Your Majesty, if the Empress Dowager blames you, Mother won't be able to bear it at her age. There's also your son and Yu's future and Ling Yun's future happiness. Have you considered her life for the rest of her life? If you don't care about anything, who will Ling Yun marry if her reputation is ruined?" He clearly had so many responsibilities on his shoulders. Why was Yu still so willful and stubbornly wanted to be a moth to a flame? In the end, he was selfish. Sometimes, people didn't just live for themselves. And Yu painfully covered his head and growled. His expression was contorted. Ning Shu didn't pay attention to him and directly locked the door. And Ling Yun's fever was very serious. Lying on the bed, she began to talk nonsense. Ning Shu rubbed her body and gave her cold medicine. It was faster than drinking Chinese medicine. Ning Shu was still calm and unhurried. This made the matriarch's anxious heart calm down a little. She felt that her daughter-in-law was strong. In the face of such a situation, she still wanted to take care of the general's residence. Holding Ning Shu's hand, she sighed and said, "Ling Xian, don't worry. I will always be on your side. If you weren't here, my old bones wouldn't be able to hold on." Because these people had nothing to do with her, she wasn't anxious at all. She didn't feel any heartache. Naturally, she was incomparably calm. Now, Yu was no longer hysterical. When Ning Shu brought food into the room, he ate and rarely lost his temper. It seemed that he had restrained all his emotions. He was often in a daze and sometimes clenched his fists. Clearly, he was struggling fiercely in his heart. On one side was his family. On the other side was the only woman he loved in his life. It was as if a knife had cut his heart in half. Chapter 393. Princess Mingzhu was waiting for her god to save her in the palace. In the square palace, Princess Mingzhu felt suffocated. Everyone here was indifferent and did not have the warmth of the general's mansion. Princess Mingzhu missed Yu very much. The Empress Dowager asked her to pray in the temple and did not allow her to go out. The Empress Dowager did not allow her to go back to the general's mansion, which made Princess Mingzhu very miserable. Every time a palace maid came to the temple to deliver food, Princess Mingzhu kowtowed and begged the little palace maid. "Please, can you let me go out to find Yu? I'll give you money. Can you let me go out? I want to find my brother. Where is he? Without me by his side, my brother will be very sad." Seeing a princess kneeling and kowtowing to them, the little palace maids were so scared that their faces turned pale. They also knelt and kowtowed, asking the princess not to make things difficult for them. But after a long time, these palace maids were used to Princess Mingzhu's kneeling and kowtowing. There was even disdain in their eyes. She was still a commandery princess, yet she was kowtowing to servants like them. She kept talking about general and generalin, and kept talking about men. She was simply shameless. Her brother was staying in the palace, but she acted as if she had done something to him. It was as if the palace was a horrible place. The Empress Dowager asked Princess Mingzhu to pray for her deceased parents and clansmen in the temple. But Princess Mingzhu cried all day and covered her heart with her hands, which made the Empress Dowager very annoyed. The Empress Dowager did not have much contact with Princess Mingzhu before. After a short contact from Yunzhou to Jingqing, Princess Mingzhu was sent to the general's mansion. Therefore, every time Princess Mingzhu saw the Empress Dowager, she would kneel on the ground and kowtow to the Empress Dowager. She was not afraid of pain, and then she would say with tears in her eyes, "Empress Dowager, you are so kind, noble and kind. You must have experienced such unforgettable love." Then she would cry and bitterly ask her to go out and find Generalin. The Empress Dowager almost had a heart attack because of Mingzhu, especially when Mingzhu would pull on her skirt every time she spoke and look up at her with a humble look. It was as if Princess Mingzhu would cry if she spoke harshly. The Empress Dowager was so angry that her lungs were about to explode. She locked Princess Mingzhu in the Buddha Hall. Then, she heard Princess Mingzhu calling for Yu. The Empress Dowager felt that the general's mansion had evil intentions. Ning Shu and the old lady were summoned into the palace by the Empress Dowager. As soon as they paid their respects, they heard the Empress Dowager's roar. She scolded and condemned Ning Shu and the old lady. The old lady and Ning Shu were prostrated on the ground. The old lady's body was trembling. Ning Shu could see that the old lady's forehead was covered in sweat. Ning Shu pursed his lips and didn't say anything. He prostrated on the ground and listened to the Empress Dowager's words. And Yu deliberately seduced Princess Mingzhu in order to climb up the nobility. There was more cold sweat on the old lady's forehead, and the clothes on her back were wet with cold sweat. After the Empress Dowager finished speaking, Ning Shu said, "Your Highness, please forgive me. Since Princess Mingzhu came to the general's mansion, I have regarded her as my daughter. My husband treats Princess Mingzhu with respect. Maybe it's because Princess Mingzhu just lost her family, and it was Enyu who saved her, so she relies on Enyu a little. However, she definitely doesn't have such bold thoughts. The Empress Dowager was also very angry because of Princess Mingzhu's crying. Now that she had vented her anger, she saw the old lady kneeling on the ground and kowtowing. She looked very pitiful. Besides, Enyu fought for the country, so she couldn't disappoint the officials. She said, "I hope so. When Princess Mingzhu is out of service, I will arrange a marriage for her." "Thank you for your forgiveness, Your Highness." Ning Shu kowtowed. The Empress Dowager rubbed her forehead and waved to Ning Shu and the old lady. Ning Shu helped the old lady out of the imperial palace. When the old lady got into the carriage, she staggered twice. Fortunately, Ning Shu supported her, or she would have fallen out of the carriage. After returning to the general's mansion, the old lady rested first. Then she fell ill. It seemed that the old lady would not be able to get up. Only then did Enyu remember his mother. He knelt in front of the old lady and cried and confessed. The old lady said bluntly, "The Empress Dowager won't agree to your marriage. When Princess Mingzhu is out of service, the Empress Dowager will arrange a marriage. The Empress Dowager already thinks that you have seduced Princess Mingzhu, and the whole general's mansion will be punished. No, Princess Mingzhu and I are really in love. Is she going to marry someone else?" Enyu's eyes were a little blank. The old lady's face was livid, and her illness became more serious. "I won't agree to your marriage even if I die, unless I die." Enyu's expression was incomparably painful. His eyes were red and he gasped for breath. Finally, he asked, "Mingzhu, is Ming doing well?" "Of course she's doing well. She's supposed to be a princess who lives in luxury," the old lady said while holding her breath. Ning Shu stood at the side like an outsider. He looked at his husband's painful and helpless appearance because of another woman. "Oh my, seeing you in pain makes my heart feel good." Enyu knelt in front of the old lady and said, "I will give up on Princess Mingzhu." The old lady's expression relaxed. She seemed much more relaxed and fell into a deep sleep. Ning Shu and Enyu left the room. Enyu, who was walking in front, stopped and turned to look at Ning Shu. He said, "Are you satisfied?" Concubine Ning almost laughed. She said in a dignified manner, "Husband, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not dissatisfied. I'm just asking for a stable life. I'm asking for the stability of the general's estate. I'm asking for the safety of my children and a place to settle down." Enyu coldly snorted and didn't say anything. He turned and left. From then on, he never entered Ning Shu's courtyard again. Ning Shu went to see the sick and Lingyun. And Lingyun was still in a daze. When she saw Ning Shu, she called out, "Mother." Ning Shu only told her to rest well. The next day, Enyu proposed that he was going to go to war. The old lady sighed and didn't say anything. She agreed. On the other hand, Ning Shu rolled her eyes. If Enyu chose to fight at this time, it was obvious that he was trying to avoid emotional matters. If he didn't have a stable mood to fight and the battlefield was constantly changing, how could such an irrational Enyu be qualified to fight? This was irresponsible to the soldiers and the country. Ning Shu had been to war before and knew the influence of a general on the battlefield. It was no wonder that Enyu was defeated in the end. Enyu told his family, and the next day, he quickly left the camp. Ning Shu went to see Enyu off. He saw Enyu's eyes. He was riding on a horse. He was extraordinarily handsome. It was no wonder that Princess Mingzhu kept calling him a god and a ruler. Enyu was indeed charming when he acted like this. Chapter 394. After Enyu's departure, the general's mansion quieted down. The fiery atmosphere also gradually cooled down. It was as if she had returned to her previous tranquility. After experiencing hysterical madness, she was suddenly at peace. Ning Shu finally understood what the original owner, Wei Lingxian, longed for. It was this kind of tranquility. Princess Mingzhu's appearance was like a typhoon, destroying everything around her. After Lingyun recovered from her illness, Ning Shu allowed her to take care of the entire general's residence. and Ling Yun's temperament was obviously much more dull. Sometimes, no one knew what she was thinking about. She didn't look as lively as before. Some things could be felt with personal pain. Ning Shu only used an example to change Ling Yun's attitude. She didn't mention Princess Mingzhu for a while. Although the old madam had recovered, she was not in good spirits. However, Ning Shu didn't think it was over. He didn't know if the elopement in the plot would happen again. After all, Princess Mingzhu was now in the heavily guarded palace. When Princess Mingzhu heard that Yu went to the battlefield, she was completely stunned. But why didn't Yu go to the battlefield? Why didn't he come to save her? Princess Mingzhu was very sad. She knelt on the futon and cried pitifully. The palace maid next to her ignored Princess Mingzhu and looked at her with disdain. Princess Mingzhu was very determined as she cried. She made up her mind. She would go to the battlefield to find Yu. She couldn't bear to be separated like this. Even if she had to die, she would die by Yu's side. Ning Shu, who was in the general's mansion, heard that Princess Mingzhu secretly ran out of the palace. She bribed a eunuch and disguised herself as a young eunuch. Ning Shu didn't know how to complain about this. How could it be so easy to sneak out of the palace? Everything was for the sake of the plot. Anything that didn't conform to logic could be ignored. Princess Mingzhu also left a letter saying that she was going to find Yu and ask the Empress Dowager for forgiveness. When the old lady heard about this, she almost fainted. It was simply ridiculous. She had already asked her son to give up Princess Mingzhu, but this woman was like a leech sucking on her son. Before the Empress Dowager made trouble, Ning Shu took the lead to enter the palace. In front of the Empress Dowager, he said that he was willing to step down from the court to help Yu and Princess Mingzhu. Ning Shu also explained that she did not expect Princess Mingzhu to do that. Originally, the Empress Dowager was still angry because Princess Mingzhu had slipped away from her eyes and traveled thousands of miles to find a general. There was no dispute between them. Did she think that she was blind? Moreover, she had already said that she would arrange a marriage for Princess Mingzhu when she came out of the costume. Now, Princess Mingzhu had run away with a man. It was a slap in the Empress Dowager's face. Originally, when she saw Ning Shu, she was very angry. But when he came and asked to leave, the Empress Dowager was really stunned. This was undoubtedly a good idea. Princess Mingzhu had run away with a man and had lost her reputation. But of course, it was impossible to let a princess of the royal family be a concubine. Undoubtedly, General Jinwei's wife asking to leave was a perfect way to solve the problem. The Empress Dowager shook her head and said, "You are General An's first wife. How can you leave just like that?" Ning Shu nodded. He was not surprised by this result, because the Empress Dowager did not dare to do so. If this precedent was set, how could the Empress Dowager face the imperial court's appointed wives? Moreover, if General An's first wife left, it would seem that the royal family forced her to leave. Moreover, Wei Lingxian was a woman who did nothing wrong. In this case, Princess Mingzhu was not in the right. When Ning Shu returned to the general's mansion, he breathed a sigh of relief. Finally, the general's mansion would not be endangered. This was completely Princess Mingzhu's personal behavior. The news of Yu's defeat spread to the capital. The old lady fainted completely. The general's mansion began to be inexplicably chaotic again, which made people restless and desperate. The atmosphere was suffocating. Moreover, Ling Yun was also in trouble. Because she and Princess Mingzhu had spent a lot of money, now there was basically no money in the account book. She could not even maintain the basic operation of the general's mansion. The things that Princess Mingzhu liked were exquisite and expensive. And Ling Yun and Princess Mingzhu did not have the concept of money. When they saw something they liked, they bought it. They spent money like running water. The old lady wanted to use her private money to pay for the general's mansion, but Ning Shu did not let her. He directly reduced the number of servants in the general's mansion. Ning Shu asked Ling Yun to choose which servants to let leave the general's mansion. All the servants knelt in front of Ling Yun and begged her not to sell them. Ling Yun had never experienced such a thing. Every servant cried miserably and knelt in front of her. They were very pitiful. Ling Yun looked at Ning Shu and said hesitantly, "Mother, Are we really going to sell them? Ning Shu said faintly, yes, because the general's mansion is not enough to support them now. Your father's salary is not much, and the profits from the shop are only enough to cover the expenses of the general's mansion. You have been in charge for so long, haven't you noticed this? And Ling Yun said, many of these things were bought for Princess Mingzhu. I know, but you were the one who paid at that time. Ning Shu said, choose who you want. These servants can't serve in the general's mansion, but they can go to other mansions to serve the new master. And Ling Yun struggled. And Ling Yun had never experienced such a thing. And Ling Yun was so scared that she cried. She looked at Ning Shu for help, but Ning Shu just shook his head at her. And Ling Yun finally chose a few servants and sold them to the trafficker. And Ling Yun took the money that the trafficker gave her. It was just a small 2 pieces of silver. The servants who were sold immediately looked at Ling Yun with resentment. If it wasn't for their status, they would have cursed at Ling Yun. And Ling Yun didn't expect that the servants who were usually so respectful to her and called her second miss would look at her so fiercely. It was as if they wanted to eat her. And Ling Yun was so scared that she took a step back. Ning Shu pushed her behind him and let the trafficker take the servants away. Mother. And Ling Yun said to Ning Shu, feeling wronged. Ning Shu said, don't be afraid. After this, the general's mansion will have to increase our income and reduce our expenses. Ling Yun, you have to learn how to do these things. I know. And Ling Yun was depressed. She was not in a good mood. After that, Ning Shu, the old madam, and Ling Yun discussed how to increase their income and reduce their expenses. The old madam cancelled the daily bird's nest. Ning Shu also cancelled the bi-daily bird's nest. This way, they could save a lot of money. And Ling Yun bit her lips and said, there are a lot of things in Princess Mingzhu's courtyard. Should we sell the things in her courtyard? Ning Shu smiled and looked at Ling Yun. At this time, Ling Yun started to learn how to plan. No need. Princess Mingzhu will come back in the future. Ning Shu said with certainty. The old madam's face turned pale. Chapter 395. On the other side, Princess Mingzhu rushed to the battlefield with great difficulty. Just as Yu was about to kill himself with his sword, Princess Mingzhu screamed and ran over to hug Yu, who was covered in blood. And Yu did not recognize the travel-worn and dirty woman at first, but when he heard Mingzhu's voice, his body stiffened and trembled. He said in disbelief, Mingzhu. It's me, it's me. Mingzhu's tears fell like rain as she hugged Yu. They looked at each other as if they had seen through thousands of mountains and rivers. Their hearts were overflowing with emotions as they hugged each other tightly. And Yu said, I wanted to die, but after seeing you, I suddenly don't want to die. Don't die, don't die. Mingzhu leaned into Yu's arms and cried. Then they decided to drag out an ignoble existence. After that, they began to communicate with their souls. And Yu and Mingzhu returned to the capital. They knew that there would be huge waves ahead of them, but they were fearless. And Yu and Mingzhu rode on the same horse. Mingzhu turned her head and smiled at Yu. The emperor was furious about Yu and Princess Mingzhu. He abolished Princess Mingzhu's title of Princess Yu Dai and demoted her to a commoner. And Yu was demoted from a rank 1 general of Jinwei to a rank 3 commandant. And Yu was already very happy to pay such a price to get Princess Mingzhu. He could pay any price to be with the person he loved. Princess Mingzhu accepted the imperial edict calmly. In her heart, if she had to choose between Yu and a princess, she would choose Yu. Now that she was no longer restricted by her status as a princess, she could enter the general's mansion and live with Yu. Princess Mingzhu hugged her younger brother, the little heir. No, to be exact, Mingzhu was now a commoner, not the little heir's sister. Princess Mingzhu cried and told the little heir to work hard to revitalize the King Yan's mansion. Then she went to the general's mansion with Yu without looking back. The whole family waited for them at the entrance of the general's mansion. Ning Shu had a smile on his face. And Ling Yun stomped her feet. How can she be so shameless? Aren't you shocked by her courage to die for you? Ning Shu raised his eyebrows and looked at Ling Yun. She's eloping, shameless. And Ling Yun spat. During this period of time, She had experienced many things and understood many things. The old lady sighed. When she saw the two people riding on the same horse, her face immediately darkened. Lingxian, no matter what, I will always be on your side, the old lady said to Ning Shu. Ning Shu didn't comment. He just didn't know what would happen under the halo of the female lead. However, when Ning Shu saw Yu's sallow face, he couldn't help but smile. Moreover, looking at the intimacy between the two of them, it should be a physical intimacy. The two of them dismounted, and Ming Zhu was the first to kneel in front of the matriarch, giving the matriarch a fright. She took 2 steps back with an ashen face and did not say anything. Old madam, I love your son more than myself. I want to integrate into the general's mansion. Old madam, I will be filial to you. I will love you as much as I love in you. I will respect and honor you. Please accept me, old madam. I will definitely move you with my sincerity. Get up. The matriarch's face was trembling. Ming Zhu then said to Ning Shu, Madam, I really love in you. Please help us. Forgive me for not being able to control myself. I won't monopolize in you. Just treat me like a cat or a dog. If she was really a cat or a dog, she would have been beaten to death. Ning Shu reached out and slapped Ming Zhu's face. Then, with a pained expression, she said, I'm sorry. I couldn't help myself. Can you forgive me for not being able to control myself? Ming Zhu covered her face and looked at Ning Shu with tears streaming down her face. She shook her head. Madam, I'm fine. She was so good at enduring. Looking at her, she looked like she was being bullied. And Yu's expression immediately turned ugly. He shouted at Ning Shu, What are you doing? How can you hit her? Ning Shu said, I couldn't control myself just now. And Yu frowned. Why are you bullying Ming Zhu like this? And Yu, I'm fine. Please don't blame madam. All right, let's go in. The matriarch interrupted the argument. She glanced at the weak Ming Zhu and felt extremely annoyed. During the meal, the matriarch saw Ming Zhu and sat down. She coughed and said, I don't know if Princess Ming Zhu is used to eating these things. Ming Zhu quickly said, Mother, I like these things very much. You don't have to call me mother. It's unreasonable. Although you are a princess, you have already been demoted to a commoner. Moreover, you are a concubine. Call me madam. The matriarch said indifferently. Her words clearly made Ming Zhu unable to back down. Feeling wronged, and you could not help but say, Mother, it's better to treat Ming Zhu like before. It's fine. Ming Zhu smiled at Yu, causing the matriarch's face to darken again. Ning Shu sneered. In the past, Ming Zhu had the status of a princess. Her status was noble. But now, Ming Zhu was just a concubine who had been stripped of her status. There was something wrong with Yu's head. How could he allow his mother to worship his concubine? Ming Zhu could clearly feel this family's rejection of her. The matriarch did not like her. The matriarch did not like her. Even her good friend, Ling Yun, looked at her with disgust. The sudden change in status made Ming Zhu feel very uncomfortable. However, seeing Yu, Ming Zhu's heart was filled with courage. She could rely on her sincerity to make these people accept her again. After dinner, Yu and Ming Zhu went to Ming Zhu's courtyard. Ming Zhu saw Ning Shu and Ling Yun standing together not far away. They were looking at her. She said to Yu uneasily, Go to madam's courtyard. You haven't seen each other in a long time. Yu grabbed Ming Zhu's hand. Can you bear to push me to another woman? Ming Zhu muttered, You are the person I love. Of course I can't bear to. Don't worry. I will be loyal to you. I will be loyal to our relationship. As soon as Yu entered the room, he impatiently kissed Ming Zhu's lips. Ming Zhu let out a rippling sound. You really don't need to go to madam's place? Ming Zhu's consciousness was hazy as she asked happily. No need. The one I love is you. Yu said, I can't betray our relationship. He clearly meant that he had already dumped that old hag. Yet he still said it so nicely. Yu was very excited on Ming Zhu's young body. He huffed and puffed for a while. Not long after, he vented his excitement. He laid on Ming Zhu's body and panted. Ming Zhu had just started to feel something when Yu finished. Ming Zhu felt as if she had fallen into the air. It was very uncomfortable. However, seeing how tired Yu was, she was too embarrassed to let him do it again. Especially when she saw that Yu had actually fallen asleep. Mingzhu was a bit unhappy. However, the excitement of being by Yu's side suppressed her unhappiness. Chapter 396. The next morning, it was supposed to be time for Mingzhu to serve tea to the elders in the family and Ningxu, the first wife. However, Yu and Mingzhu slept until late in the morning, leaving the old madam and Ningxu in the main hall for so long. Ningxu didn't care about this. The old madam held her walking stick with an ugly expression. In the end, she comforted Ningxu and said, since she doesn't want to serve tea, then forget it. Only when you, the first wife, drink her tea will it be considered as acknowledging her identity. She doesn't even care about it, so don't bother about her. Ningxu nodded. And Lingyun was already hungry from waiting. She couldn't help but ask Ningxu, Mother, why don't I get someone to call father? Ningxu looked at the old madam, and the old madam asked her personal maid to call for someone. After a while, Yu and Mingzhu arrived. When Mingzhu entered the room and saw everyone looking at her, her face immediately turned red. She looked extremely beautiful. When Ningxu saw Yu's slightly yellow face, he smiled meaningfully. Mother, I'm sorry for making everyone wait. You haven't eaten yet, right? Let's eat. Yu was the groom last night, so he looked radiant. Even so, Ningxu could still see that his face was slightly yellow. Father, do you know that everyone has been waiting for you for a long time? And Lingyun pouted and complained to Yu. Yu doted on his daughter, so he didn't say anything when he heard this. However, Mingzhu knelt down in front of Lingyun and said, Lingyun, this is all because of me. I was a little tired in the morning, so I slept a little longer. I'm sorry. And Lingyun's expression instantly turned ugly. She said, Get up. Don't kneel. I was wrong. I made everyone wait for me. I apologize to everyone. Can you forgive me? Mingzhu looked at Lingyun as if she was waiting for her forgiveness. Otherwise, she wouldn't get up. And Lingyun was speechless. Lingyun, you are so kind. Please forgive me, Mingzhu said again. And Lingyun was furious. She was the one who came late. If she didn't forgive him, would she be unkind? Ningxu laughed unkindly in his heart. There were some things that could only be felt when it happened to oneself. Mingzhu in the plot was like this. She treated her knees as if they were made of iron. She would kneel down at the slightest provocation and shed 2 drops of cat urine. Everyone stood on her side and blamed the original owner. Now that it happened to Lingyun, how did Lingyun feel? It probably wouldn't be too pleasant. Although Mingzhu was pure, she could feel the hatred and malice others had towards her. In this room, Lingyun was the first to speak. Mingzhu could feel that Lingyun did not like her, so she did it out of instinct. Out of instinct, he wanted to use the strength of the people around him to help him get out of this predicament. Therefore, Lingyun was now being targeted. Ningxu didn't say anything and just watched from the side. Lingyun, please forgive me. Mingzhu said to Lingyun, who had an ugly expression. And Yu pulled up the kneeling girl and said to Lingyun, this was my idea. You don't have to blame Mingzhu. Mingzhu is also your mother. Show her some respect. Mother? My mother is Wei Lingxian. Damn, when did a concubine become my mother? And Lingyun was furious. Seeing her father protect Mingzhu, she felt even more sad and jealous. Lingyun and I are friends. You don't have to call me mother. Mingzhu hurriedly waved her hand. And Lingyun was even angrier. Damn, her good friend stole her father. Anyway, Lingyun felt disgusted but couldn't vomit. She felt extremely uncomfortable. Lingyun, it's getting late. Serve the dishes. Everyone is hungry, Ningxu said to Lingyun. And Lingyun pouted and ordered the servants to serve the dishes. This was Mingzhu's first meal in the general's residence as a concubine. According to the rules, she should serve a table of people. A concubine was basically a servant. However, Mingzhu sat beside Yu and picked up food for him. She looked extremely sweet. Mingzhu didn't realize that her identity was different. She was no longer Princess Mingzhu. Furthermore, she was a concubine. The legal wife even had the right to sell her. She lived in her own world and didn't know or care about anything. The old madam's face was dark the whole time. The sound of the ivory chopsticks poking the bowl was very loud. And you noticed that his mother didn't seem to be in a good mood. He asked, "Mother, are these not to your taste?" The old madam, after breakfast, and you and Ming Zhu left. The old madam slammed the ivory chopsticks on the table. She looked extremely angry and her voice was trembling. "What kind of upbringing is this? I've never seen such an improper person." Ning Shu only comforted the old madam and told her not to be angry. Now, and you naturally treated Ming Zhu like a pearl. It was easy to fall in love. Only when they continued to love each other was true love. Ning Shu took An Lingyun to various gatherings of noble ladies to let An Lingyun see the world. At the same time, he also took An Lingyun to see her in-laws. Many noble ladies looked at Ning Shu with sympathetic eyes. In the past, and you didn't even have a concubine. Now that a shameless Princess Ming Zhu had appeared, they all warned Ning Shu to set up the rules. Ming Zhu was just a commoner now. What was there to be afraid of? Ning Shu always smiled and said that he understood. The other madams looked at Ning Shu with even more sympathy. Her husband had been snatched away by a woman, but she still had to force a smile. They all talked about how they punished the restless concubine. Almost all of them were gnashing their teeth. As long as it was the legal wife, she hated the concubines who shared her husband. And Lingyun listened at the side and felt that the door to a new world had opened. What was it about being sold? What was it about completely sterilizing the concubine? What was it about being able to torture the concubine and making her serve tea? On the way back, Lingyun asked Ning Shu, "Does everyone hate concubines?" And Lingyun's living environment was simple and happy. Naturally, she didn't see what a family with many wives and concubines looked like. Therefore, she naturally couldn't care less about the harm concubines caused to the legal wife. The legal wife had to pretend to be generous and take in concubines for her husband. Ning Shu didn't directly say, "Which one of these madams do you think is the easiest to get along with?" "I think it's Madam Li. I heard that Madam Li's son is about the same age as your brother." And Lingyun was stunned for a moment. Her face turned red, and she said embarrassedly, "Mother, don't be embarrassed. Men should get married when they grow up, and women should get married when they grow up," Ning Shu said. "It's good to have more contact with these madams. When you get married in the future, you can be mentally prepared. Your future husband can't only have you as his only woman. It's good to listen more," Ning Shu said indifferently. And Lingyun's heart was suddenly covered with a layer of shadow. Can I be like father and only have mother as his wife? How can these men be so fickle? And Lingyun couldn't continue speaking because her father also had a concubine now. Moreover, he was in his old age and had entered a field of flowers. However, Yolai's actions hurt Wei Lingxian more than those men who had many wives and concubines hurt their wives. Since he couldn't do it, why did he give Wei Lingxian such hope? Chapter 397. Ning Shu didn't care about the gloominess in An Lingyun's heart at all. She even stabbed a knife into An Lingyun's heart. An unmarried man also has maidservants by his side. Before you get married, the man already has women by his side. After you get married, these maidservants will be promoted to concubines. Your father doesn't have any maidservants by his side because he often fights, Ning Shu said indifferently. And Lingyun's expression became even more depressed, as if she had stepped on feces. Ning Shu shouted in a daze, "Mother, of course, you will also be loving with your husband, although you will share your husband with other people." Ning Shu stabbed in Lingyun's heart again and again. Ning Shu said again, "You are the daughter of General Zhenwei, so you will naturally be the legal wife, so you must take care of the family matters seriously. When you get married, your in-laws will be your family. There are some things in the general's manner that can't be controlled. A married daughter is like spilled water." And Lingyun was speechless. Ning Shu ignored An Lingyun's depression and began to discuss the marriage of her son, and Yu, with the old madam. The old madam had taken a fancy to Minister Su's daughter, but Ning Shu immediately rejected her. In the plot, Su Li was An Yu's wife, but she held Mingzhu in high esteem. She even praised Mingzhu for her bravery in love and her undying devotion. Mingzhu was clearly the woman in her husband's heart, but she still sided with her love rival and even went against Wei Lingxian's real mother-in-law, accusing her mother-in-law of being cruel to Mingzhu. Another woman who couldn't distinguish right from wrong, a woman who was naive. Ning Shu directly stated his reason. This Su Li is Minister Su's only daughter, so it's inevitable that she will be spoiled. And Yu is the eldest son, so his wife will be the eldest daughter-in-law. In the future, she will have to bear the heavy responsibility of the rear courtyard of the general's manor. I have seen this woman before. She is a naive and lively child. When the old madam heard this, she removed this Su Li, naive and stupid. She didn't understand the ways of the world. How could she manage the inner courtyard well and deal with the other madams? Did she offend everyone? Ning Shu had never thought of setting any rules for Mingzhu, nor did he want Mingzhu to greet him. With regards to Yu's love for Mingzhu, Ning Shu also treated himself as blind and did not see anything. Regarding this, Mingzhu felt extremely happy. Although Madame did not say anything, Mingzhu felt that Madame had already forgiven her. And Ling Yun, who was supposed to protect Mingzhu in the storyline, was intentionally or unintentionally making things difficult for her. Moreover, Ning Shu saw that Ling Yun looked like she was practicing. She was probably practicing how to deal with a concubine. For example, if Mingzhu wanted to eat something, Ling Yun would ask the servants to delay the delivery. When Mingzhu asked about it, Ling Yun would say that the general's estate did not have money and could not afford such expensive things. Even the old madam did not have money to eat bird's nest. Mingzhu first made a scene out of being wronged, and then Yu came out to defend Mingzhu. However, Ling Yun directly said, "Father, you've been demoted, and your salary isn't much. The general's residence isn't rich now." Hearing his daughter's words, Yu could not straighten his back. In the end, the matter was left unsettled, and Mingzhu asked her personal maid to buy it herself. Although she was able to eat what she wanted to eat with her own money, Mingzhu felt very uncomfortable. And Ling Yun saw the good things in Mingzhu's courtyard and felt very uncomfortable. Many of the things here were bought with her own money. Now, the general's estate was living frugally, but Mingzhu had so many good things here. A concubine had more things than her mother's house. Ning Shu only silently watched Ling Yun's change. So the stick had to hit oneself to know the pain. Now, would Ling Yun still warmly welcome Mingzhu into the family of the general's estate? People were selfish. When it came to their own things, they would work hard to fight for them. Now that the general's estate was doing worse than before, but Mingzhu was still doing very well, how could Ling Yun continue to watch? And Yu and Mingzhu had been lovey-dovey for a while. In the past, they used to be lovey-dovey together every day, but recently, Yu would occasionally sleep in the study. Ning Shu looked at Yu's slightly yellow face. He frowned and looked a little distressed. Mingzhu's expression also looked a little bitter. Ning Shu laughed wildly in his heart. Time was a butcher's knife, enough to obliterate all true love and emotions. And Yu and Mingzhu both died in the end, achieving an unprecedented period of true love. What was death? What was death? Live and see how long you can love each other. Only love that can withstand the ravages of time is true love. Lust, with love, there will naturally be lust. It was just that the current Yu did not seem to be able to satisfy Mingzhu. Since you're old, you should be more honest. Don't act like an old man and think that you're a hot-blooded young man. Recently, Yu was very distressed. Every time after making love, Yu would feel very satisfied, but Mingzhu would not feel satisfied. He wanted to do it again, but for some reason his body was not strong enough. Facing Mingzhu's bitter eyes, Yu was in a sorry state and even reduced the number of times they made love. Yu felt that there was a problem with his body. It was not that he could not do it, he could do it, but he could not do it for long. Previously, he thought that it was because he was too excited. After all, Mingzhu's body was so young and tender. But after doing it with Mingzhu so many times, it was the same situation every time. This made Yu feel a little afraid. He even secretly went to find a doctor. The doctor felt his pulse and said that his kidney was weak. He prescribed some kidney-nourishing medicine for Yu to boil and drink it. In order to fool others, Yu pretended that he was sick and wanted to drink the medicine. After knowing that Yu was sick, Mingzhu started crying as if Yu was going to pass away. This made the old lady's face turn ugly. However, Yu was very touched. He felt that Mingzhu was concerned about him. In front of everyone, they hugged and hugged again. Yu said some words of love while wiping Mingzhu's tears. Finally, Mingzhu's tears turned into a smile. Ningxu was speechless. He was speechless. There was his mother, his wife, and his daughter in this house. Couldn't he be more careful? How could he be unable to control himself so much? Ningxu sighed. He felt that he was going to be alone for the rest of his life. Love was simply something that made people collapse. That was true. She could not even guarantee her life. Love was something that she could not hope for. Anything was more stable and better than love. In any case, Ningxu was extremely disgusted. Were the two of them planning to roll on the spot? Ningxu smelled the medicine that the servant girl brought in. The corner of his mouth curled up, but he did not say anything. And Lingyun saw Mingzhu's actions and felt even more disgusted. The moment she left the room, she scolded, "Vixen." And Lingyun had long been displeased with Mingzhu's house. Thinking that they were all using the general's residence's money, and Lingyun's heart ached. She would always find excuses to steal the things in Mingzhu's house. Mingzhu thought that Lingyun had forgiven her and generously gave all the good things to Lingyun. However, every time Lingyun came to ask for things, Mingzhu would be unhappy. These things were all hers. What right did she have to ask her for them? Chapter 398. Now, Ningxu basically didn't have to do anything. With Lingyun as the housekeeper, he didn't have to serve Yu. It was as if he was enjoying his old age in advance. Ningxu watched as Lingyun and Mingzhu got into a conflict over a white jade hairpin. Mingzhu's usual trick was to cry and kneel down to scare people. And Lingyun followed Ningxu and always attended banquets. Naturally, she knew a lot. No matter what, Mingzhu was an elder. If she knelt down to her, her reputation would be ruined. And Lingyun felt that Mingzhu was vicious and used this method to ruin her reputation. So, when Mingzhu knelt down, Lingyun also knelt down. And Lingyun's actions made Mingzhu feel as if she had swallowed a fly. She felt wronged and hateful. Why did Lingyun treat her like this? She was so good to Lingyun and gave her all the good things. Why was Lingyun still so greedy? The general's residence was so warm before, and Lingyun was her friend. Why did she become like this? She already explained that she couldn't help it. She wanted to integrate into the general's residence, but why did Lingyun do this? Mingzhu felt that Lingyun betrayed their friendship. Of course, in the end, the conflict still needed Yu to mediate. And Yu naturally sided with the person he loved deeply. This white jade hairpin was naturally given to Mingzhu. And Lingyun was very angry. This was her father. Why was he always siding with this woman? At this moment, Lingyun was just like Wei Lingxian back then. She was jealous, hateful, dissatisfied, and hurt. Her father sided with Mingzhu without even thinking about it. He didn't even ask about what had happened. Just like that, he sided with Mingzhu. And Lingyun felt hurt. Ningxu saw Lingyun kneeling on the ground. Her body was trembling with anger, but Yu was holding Mingzhu. He sighed and walked over. Ningxu pulled Lingyun up from the ground. And Lingyun turned and saw her mother. The tears that she had been holding back immediately fell. Ningxu looked at Yu and said, "Husband, the general's residence's shop is not doing well. After you were demoted, your salary is not as much as before. The general's residence is not doing well. Now that Lingyun is in charge, she wants to save a little." This white jade hairpin was bought by Lingyun for Mingzhu. Now, Lingyun wants it back and sells it to support the general's residence's expenses. When Yu saw his first wife, he was in a daze for a moment. He felt that he had not seen her for a long time. Usually, this woman did not have any sense of existence. He doted on Mingzhu, but she did not say anything. And Yu felt a little uncomfortable in his heart. If the other party had made a ruckus to stop him and Ming Zhu, he would not have felt guilty at all. Now that he heard her calmly speak the truth, and Yu felt ashamed. And Yu took the white jade hairpin from Ming Zhu's hands and gave it to Ling Yun. Ming Zhu's expression instantly darkened. This wasn't about the hairpin. Now that Wei Lingxian had said this, and Yu wouldn't give her the hairpin. This made Ming Zhu very uncomfortable and felt a sense of crisis. And Ling Yun held the white jade hairpin in her hand, her eyes filled with deep mockery. Ming Zhu knelt in front of Ning Shu with a plop. Ning Shu looked at Ming Zhu coldly and generously accepted Ming Zhu's kowtow. She was just a concubine now. Did she really think that she was Princess Ming Zhu? Once she knelt, others would be terrified and uneasy. Madam, it's my fault. I didn't think that the general's mansion would be like this. I'll take out my own money tomorrow, Ming Zhu said very profoundly. Ning Shu smiled faintly. Very good. It's good that you think that way. After all, you're also a member of the general's mansion. Ming Zhu's face revealed an expression that was both smiling and crying. She kowtowed to Ning Shu. Thank you, madam, for accepting me. Thank you, madam. Ning Shu's smile became even more dignified and virtuous. Ning Shu pulled in Ling Yun to his courtyard. He took out the hairpin from the box and gave it to Ling Yun. And Ling Yun hurriedly waved her hands. I don't want mother's hairpin. I did it on purpose. I wanted Ming Zhu's hairpin on purpose. Ning Shu pulled in Ling Yun's hand and said, before doing anything, you have to find a good reason for yourself. You have to put yourself in an advantageous position. This way, you won't fall into the trap of making things difficult for others. Your father dotes on Ming Zhu, so naturally whatever Ming Zhu says is right. You're a girl, so you shouldn't get involved in your father's backyard. Let your father dote on whoever he dotes on. But mother, I can't accept it in my heart. And Ling Yun stomped her feet. Right now, father only has eyes for Ming Zhu. Could it be that you can't accept it? Ning Shu looked at Ling Yun. You have to keep your cool. What good will it do you if you go head-to-head like this? So what if you vent the anger in your heart? Your father still favors Ming Zhu. Don't make trouble with Ming Zhu. One is a concubine, and the other is a junior. It's not good for your reputation. Ning Shu instructed Ling Yun. And Ling Yun naturally knew that her mother was doing this for her own good. She nodded and didn't say anything. Not long later, Ming Zhu personally took her own money to Ning Shu's courtyard and gave a bag of silver to him. Ning Shu let Ling Yun take it. And Ling Yun curled her lips. It was just this little bit of money. Previously, when Ming Zhu came to the general's estate, she used banknotes to buy things. This little bit of money wasn't even a fraction of the banknotes. When Ming Zhu left, her footsteps were light. She clearly thought that her and Yu's love had received everyone's blessings and support. Ning Shu shook his head. Bickering with people who lived in their own world was just asking for trouble. Moreover, as long as he said something, even if he said it a little louder, she would immediately kneel down and repent, constantly begging for forgiveness. I was wrong. I apologized. You should forgive me. If you don't forgive me, then it's your fault. It's your fault. There was nothing more painful than having their true love shattered. Although the people in the general's estate had supported her and Yu's love, Ming Zhu now had a new worry, and that was the intimacy between her and Yu. It was like this every time. She only felt a little, but the lovemaking was already over. Sometimes, Ming Zhu felt so bad that she would cling on to Yu, but Yu couldn't do anything about it. He would always push her away until he was tired. There was a shadow in Ming Zhu's heart. She thought that Yu had gone to find another woman. However, ever since she came to the general's estate, Yu had always been with her. The two of them had never gone to Wei Lingxian's courtyard. Although she didn't want to admit it, Ming Zhu felt that Yu wasn't good enough. Yu was Ming Zhu's first man. She didn't know what other men were like. Due to a woman's shame, Ming Zhu didn't tell him her true feelings. She didn't want Yu to think that she was a loose woman. Yu could sense Ming Zhu's dissatisfaction, but he was powerless. He drank so much medicine, but it was useless. Yu didn't know what was wrong with his body. This feeling made him very afraid. Chapter 399. Yu knew that if this continued, there would be a day when Mingzhu would complain. He loved Mingzhu and wanted to give her the best things, but what was wrong with his body? It had never been like this before. And you looked for a lot of doctors and prescribed a lot of medicine, but it didn't work. Even if he ate the medicine prescribed by a famous doctor, he still couldn't change the problem of not being able to last long. Ning Shu watched silently as Yu drank the medicine in big bowls. He ate more than 3 meals a day. His face was green with excrement, and his expression was extremely ugly. Ning Shu looked dignified and virtuous on the surface, but in his heart, he laughed wildly with his hands on his waist. Especially when he saw that Yu often slept in the study and Mingzhu's resentful look, Ning Shu only sneered in his heart. The current Yu could no longer love you and fuck you to death. He could no longer make Mingzhu want to live and die. Ning Shu really wanted to stretch to express his joy, but considering his dignified and magnanimous image, Ning Shu gave up. Although Yu was young and fast, Mingzhu was still pregnant. Moreover, Mingzhu did not know that she was pregnant. She vomited profusely while eating. When the doctor came to take a look, he said that she was already 2 months pregnant. Although the old lady did not like Mingzhu, she was still her grandson in her stomach. It was always a good thing to have more grandchildren. She even took out her own private money to buy a lot of tonics for Mingzhu to take good care of her body. When the old lady saw Mingzhu's weak appearance and her body did not look very good, she was a little worried and hoped that the child would be born safely. Yu was very excited when he found out that his beloved was pregnant. He was even happier than when he was a father for the first time. He hugged Mingzhu and spun around twice. The old lady was so scared that she quickly asked him to put her down. When she found out that Mingzhu was pregnant, Lingyun was unhappy. Now, Lingyun was not as innocent as before. She thought a lot about the arrival of this child. The first thing she thought about was that this child might threaten her and her brother's position. Although it was a son of a concubine, it had the right to inherit the general's residence's things. If it was a girl, it would be fine. If it was a boy, then it would be a threat to her brother. Moreover, seeing how happy her father was, Lingyun was very worried. She was afraid that Yu would unconditionally side with this younger brother or sister. Seeing her mother's carefree appearance, Lingyun couldn't help but ask, "Mother, aren't you worried?" "What are you worried about?" "There's nothing to worry about." Ning Shu was actually a little surprised that Mingzhu was pregnant. In the storyline, Mingzhu was not pregnant. Actually, this child didn't have any conflict with Yu and Lingyun. Ning Shu didn't want to care about this child. Lingyun stomped her feet and didn't say anything. Her eyes flickered and she seemed to be struggling. Ning Shu looked at her and said, "Lingyun, this child is your brother. There is a big age gap between you and him. There are some things you can do and some things you can't. Do you understand?" Ning Shu looked at Lingyun's expression. There was struggle and hesitation between her brows. It was obvious that she minded this child a lot. Brothers who didn't share the same mother, this feeling was really strange. Hearing Ning Shu's words, Lingyun let out a long sigh and said, "Mother, I understand." In essence, Lingyun was kind. She could fight for what she needed, but the premise was that she couldn't hurt others. Mingzhu's pregnancy made Yu very happy. He had his own child. More importantly, he wouldn't be intimate with Mingzhu for a long time. To be honest, Yu was actually a little afraid of being intimate with Mingzhu now. He was afraid of seeing her disappointed eyes. Yu wanted to take advantage of Mingzhu's pregnancy to nurse his body back to health and then give Mingzhu a new him. Mingzhu was pregnant, so she seemed a little delicate. In addition, her body was a little weak. She would vomit whatever she ate. She would always clench her fists and hit Yu. Yu would always smile and let Mingzhu hit him without complaint. It made Mingzhu feel sweet and painful. Ning Shu didn't pay attention to the two people who were entangled with each other. He called Yu, who was in the army in Lizhou. He said that he had arranged a marriage for him and asked him to come back to see. Yu ran back excitedly. Then he bumped into his father supporting Princess Mingzhu in the garden. Princess Mingzhu was clutching her belly with one hand. Yu was instantly dumbfounded. He didn't understand what was going on. Why was his father so intimate with Princess Mingzhu? Well, who the hell could tell him what was going on? The old lady hadn't seen her grandson for a long time. Especially after so many things had happened in the general's mansion, the old lady cried when she saw Yu. Ning Shu saw that Yu's entire person had changed a lot. He had turned black, and there was a light scar on his face. Furthermore, he looked much stronger than before, and his entire person looked much sharper. Sure enough, he had changed a lot. Yu was puzzled about the matter between Yu and Princess Mingzhu. Especially when he came back, his father didn't even ask about him. Yu asked his sister about his father and Princess Mingzhu. Lingyun hated Princess Mingzhu very much now. When she heard her brother call that cheap concubine a princess, she immediately spat and said, "She's not a princess now. She's just a concubine." Then, Lingyun told her brother about how she had run to the battlefield and what had happened between her and Yu. She also said that Mingzhu was now 2 months pregnant. After hearing this, Yu was stunned. The woman who was as gentle as water in his heart was suddenly disillusioned. In the blink of an eye, she had become his father's concubine and was about to have a child. Yu pursed his lips and sighed in his heart. What kind of courage did it take to go to the battlefield? If she ran to the army of Lizhou, she would definitely be dragged into the camp by the valiant veterans and treated as a military prostitute. During this period of time in the army of Lizhou, Yu suffered a lot. There was no reason, no injustice, only strength and experience. When he first went there, he was not convinced. When he argued, he was directly beaten down. When he fell to the ground, everyone around him ran up and trampled on him. The wound on his face was caused by bandits when he was suppressing bandits. That knife almost took his life. The last thing that flashed in his mind was Mingzhu's face, but he didn't expect it to be such a situation. Yu only felt that it was ridiculous. Ning Shu called Yu to the front and said, "Your grandmother and I have found a woman for you to come back and take a look." Yu looked at his mother. Her face was calm as she talked to him about things. She didn't look sad at all. She even stood up when the general's residence was in danger. "Mother, you make the decision." Yu said with some disinterest. "A woman who can take care of the family like mother is enough." Ning Shu looked at Yu and asked directly, "Are you still thinking about Mingzhu?" Chapter 400. Yu's hidden thoughts were found out by her mother. For a moment, she was so embarrassed that she did not know what to say, especially now that Mingzhu was her father's woman. "I didn't," Yu stuttered. She saw her mother looking at her like that. "You're quibbling. Keep quibbling." Ning Shu looked at Yu with his eyes. Yu was a bit embarrassed. She spread her hands and said, "I used to like gentle women like Mingzhu, but now that she's father's woman, I don't have any thoughts." Ning Shu was a bit surprised. This child was very infatuated with Mingzhu. Now that he had changed a lot, it did not seem like that. Ning Shu was glad that she had sent Yu away earlier, before he had fallen deeply in love with Mingzhu. She reckoned that the environment had also affected Yu a little. The Yu now looked smarter and more tactful than before. Her face and hands were also injured. A strange question suddenly appeared in Ning Shu's heart. Looking at Yu's lower body, the Lizhou army was full of rough men. Usually there were no women. With Yu's gigolo appearance, would she be pressed down? The more he thought about it, the more likely it was. Ning Shu looked at Yu with a strange expression. Yu was speechless. Coming out of her mother's courtyard, Yu bumped into Mingzhu, who was standing in the corridor feeding the fish. Yu wanted to avoid arousing suspicion, so she turned and left. "Yu." Mingzhu called out to Yu. Yu turned to look at Mingzhu and called out, "Aunt." When Mingzhu heard Yu call her, her face froze. After all, she was younger than Yu. However, did this mean that she acknowledged her? "Are you doing well in the Lizhou army?" Mingzhu asked. Yu cupped her fist and said, "Thank you for your concern, Aunt. Everything is going well. You don't have to be polite with me. I've always treated you as a friend." Mingzhu saw Yu's distant appearance and felt bad. She also saw that there were no longer obvious scars on Yu's face. She said, "It looks like you're not doing well. You've suffered a lot." Mingzhu took 2 steps towards Yu. Yu saw her supporting her waist as she walked towards her. She immediately took 2 steps back and said, It's nothing for a man to suffer a bit. Actually, at that time, I did not approve of you joining the Lizhou army. Mingzhu said, I do not understand why Madam would send you to such a difficult place. And Yu frowned and said, Auntie, continue feeding the fish. I'll be leaving first. Mingzhu looked at Yu's back and furrowed her brows in grievance. Why was he like this? Mingzhu sighed. She felt that Yu was avoiding her because Lingyun had said bad things about her in front of her brother. Mingzhu rubbed her stomach. Suddenly she did not know why, but her heart felt uncomfortable and tired, especially when she saw the tall and sturdy Yu. Her young body made Mingzhu's heart feel strange and restless. Mingzhu, you're here. I've been looking for you everywhere. And Yu walked over and said worriedly to Mingzhu. Because Yu had been drinking medicine a lot recently, there was a medicinal smell all over his body. When Mingzhu smelled this smell, she immediately covered her mouth and retched. And Yu saw that Mingzhu was vomiting uncomfortably and immediately wanted to reach out and pat her back. However, the closer Yu got, the more uncomfortable Mingzhu felt. She quickly used her hand to block Yu. Don't come over. I want to vomit. Yu's face froze. He stood there in a daze and did not move. His heart was in turmoil. He was hurt by Mingzhu's attitude. Mingzhu saw that Yu was in a daze. After vomiting, she said, You have a medicinal smell on you. I feel a bit nauseous. Yu pursed his lips. After a while, he said, Go take a bath first. After saying that, his body stiffened and he turned around to leave. Mingzhu looked at Yu's lonely back. She opened her mouth, but in the end, she did not call out to Yu. Ningxu did not know about the matter between Yu and Mingzhu. He was currently with the old madam bringing Yu to see his future wife. Ningxu felt that it was very strange. He had not even gotten married yet, but now he was looking for a daughter-in-law. Yu was very satisfied with his future wife. She was a gentle and beautiful woman. She looked like a reasonable woman. Ningxu was also very satisfied because the current Yu was not infatuated with Mingzhu. Yu decided to return to the Lizhou army after getting married. The old madam also had the same idea. She clearly felt that her body was not very good. She wanted to see her great-grandson and die without regrets. The group of people returned to the general's residence. They saw Mingzhu waiting at the door. Mingzhu's gaze swept across Yu's face. Ningxu asked, Madam, did you leave the residence for something today? Ningxu smiled and said, Today, we went to see Yu's fiancé. Soon Yu will get married. That's right. I will have a beautiful sister-in-law soon. And Lingyun smiled very happily. It was as if she was demonstrating to Mingzhu. Previously, she treated Mingzhu as her future sister-in-law. However, she did not expect Mingzhu to shamelessly like her father and do so many ridiculous things. Now, when she went out to attend banquets, she would hear people laughing at the general's residence. Because of Mingzhu, the general's residence even looked at her strangely. When Mingzhu heard this news, she took 2 steps back in shock. Then, she forced a smile and said to Yu, Congratulations. Thank you, Auntie. Yu said politely. Mingzhu turned and left. The old madam supported herself with her walking stick and said unhappily, Unruly thing. Ningxu raised his eyebrows. He felt that Mingzhu's current state was not right. Could it be that pregnant women were all strange? Because both sides were satisfied, Yu and Lin Yanlei's marriage was quickly put on the agenda. The whole family gathered together and chose an auspicious date to propose marriage. Yu was a little dissatisfied. This was because no one in the family had informed his son that he was going to get married. After a few people discussed it, they informed him. Mingzhu sat on the side and did not say anything. From time to time, she would look at the wheat-skinned Yu. His body was incomparably tall. The scar on his face gave him a hint of bravery. His aura was even stronger than his father's. Mingzhu did not know if it was an illusion, but Yu was a little dispirited. That dispirited feeling made Mingzhu feel that Yu was not her god. He was not her master. Yu felt that the whole family was ignoring him. His dignity as the head of the family was being challenged. He said, This Lin Yanlei lost her mother early. She has a younger brother. She cannot marry a woman who has lost her parents. Ning Shu almost laughed out loud. You are the one who slept with a woman who is in her mourning period. You have the nerve to talk about others. Father, I am very satisfied with this Lin Yanlei. She is a sensible woman who knows how to take care of people. She raised her younger brother. Soon, her younger brother will be taking the imperial examination. She is a smart and capable woman. Ming Zhu's face was dark and gloomy. Chapter 401. And Yu was the head of the family and the pillar of the family. He supported the entire general's residence and protected the family. However, when it came to Ming Zhu, and Yu even wanted to abandon the family and his responsibilities, causing his status in the family to rapidly decline. Now, Yu did not approve of Yu marrying the Li family's widowed daughter, but his opposition did not cause any waves. No one took his words to heart, and Yu seemed to have realized it as well. He frowned tightly and felt very uncomfortable. After agreeing on the date, Yu was ready to go to the Li residence to propose marriage. When Ning Shu saw Yu riding on the back of a horse, her posture was valiant and incomparably handsome. She suddenly felt a sense of pride that her own child had grown up. Yu looked at his son and suddenly felt that he was very unfamiliar with him. He often went to war, and everything at home was taken care of by Wei Lingxian. In a trance, his son and daughter were already at the age to start a family. Yu wanted to give Yu a few words of advice, but he did not know what to say. And Ling Yun told her brother that the marriage proposal must go smoothly and he must marry his future sister-in-law. Yu laughed heartily and cupped his fists to his family. Grandson, your son will definitely succeed. The old madam smiled happily, and Ning Shu also had a smile on his face. This kind of life was very blissful. Yu stood together with Ming Zhu and felt like an outsider. They were clearly his family, but he felt that there was no relationship between them. An unprecedented loneliness welled up in Yu's heart. Ming Zhu looked at the tall Yu, her eyes sparkling. The marriage proposal process went smoothly. After accepting the bride, asking for her name, accepting the bride's 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 name, and inviting the bride's name, the two families quickly set a date for the marriage half a month later. Soon, the day of the marriage arrived. The general's residence was bustling with noise and excitement. Bright red lanterns were hung up. And Ling Yun had a smile on her face as she ordered the servants to do things. Even the old madam came to help. Yu was wearing a bright red bridegroom's outfit, an official's hat, and a red string hanging from her shoulders. She looked very jubilant. Ning Shu looked very satisfied and nodded. She was very handsome. Compared to the hustle and bustle of the general's residence, Ming Zhu's courtyard was much quieter. Ming Zhu leaned against the door, her hand holding on to a servant girl's hand. Looking at the busy people, she felt like an outsider. Miss, do you want to go in? The wind is strong at the entrance. Ming Zhu's personal maid said to Ming Zhu. Ming Zhu saw Yu, who was dressed in a wedding gown, walking down the corridor. He looked healthy and handsome, his entire body was filled with joy, and he was beaming with joy. Ming Zhu suddenly realized that she and Yu did not go through any ceremony when they got married. Especially when she saw the bride and groom holding the bouquet in one hand, under the cheers and laughter of the crowd, Ming Zhu's heart suddenly felt like it was being hammered. She did not have a wedding, no dowry, no brothers to carry her on their backs, no 10 miles of red dowry, no big red bridal sedan, nothing. Hearing the sound of the ceremony, Ming Zhu felt that her life was not worth it. What did she want? She did not have anything. And you did not give her anything. And you said that he loved her, but she did not get anything in return. Ming Zhu looked at the bride with the veil on her head, and there were poisonous thorns in her heart that pierced her heart. Jealousy, unwillingness. She looked at Yu and Wei Lingxian sitting together, accepting the bows of the newlyweds. She did not even have the chance to stand side by side with Yu. They were the happy family. Especially when she saw the smile on Wei Lingxian's face, an indescribable pain surged in Ming Zhu's heart. Everyone was happy, but Ming Zhu's bitter face ruined the atmosphere. When the old madam saw Ming Zhu like this, she directly told her to go back to the courtyard. Who was she trying to show this to? Mingzhu, who was chased away, felt even more wronged. It was as if she was being bullied. She looked at Yu, who was drinking with someone else and did not notice her at all. The liveliness here did not belong to Gij. She could not feel this kind of liveliness. Ning Shu smiled and talked to the other madams. From the corner of his eye, he saw Mingzhu's lonely expression. Mingzhu should now understand that her and Yu's love did not receive anyone's blessings. Everything was just her imagination. Mingzhu's current status could not even be considered a concubine because it was not on the family tree. She should have been a concubine, but because they did not serve tea, the old madam did not care about Mingzhu. Naturally, she would not be kind enough to mention the family tree. Therefore, it was easy to fall in love, but it was not easy to stay in love. In the end, Yu and Mingzhu both died and became true love. Looking at Yu, this body felt gratified. It was obvious that he was happy to see his son start a family and marry a good wife. After a lively day, the general's residence quieted down. Mingzhu and Yu lay together. Mingzhu asked Yu, there is no such wedding between us. Yu hugged Mingzhu. When your child is born, I'll hold one for you. An indescribable anger and exhaustion suddenly surged in Mingzhu's heart. She turned her back to Yu. Yu hugged Mingzhu and comforted her. Mingzhu, you're pregnant now. Don't think too much. It's not good for your health. Mingzhu was very angry, but she could not explain why she was angry. After a while, Mingzhu turned around and saw that Yu had fallen asleep. Yu was getting married today. As Yu's father, he naturally had to deal with the guests. If it was in the past, Yu would definitely comfort Mingzhu, but he was too tired today, so he fell asleep first. However, Mingzhu's suppressed emotions suddenly exploded at this moment. It turned out that she was so aggrieved and uncomfortable. The current Mingzhu could not even deceive herself. Yu was everything in her life, but Mingzhu realized that she was not everything in Yu's life. This made Mingzhu angry, unwilling, and vaguely regretful. Wake up, Yu, wake up. Mingzhu slapped Yu's face. Yu opened his eyes and held Mingzhu's hand. He felt a burning sensation on his face. His skin seemed to have been scratched by Mingzhu's nails. What are you doing? Mingzhu, what's wrong with you? Yu's face was filled with anger. No one would be in a good mood after being hit all of a sudden. When Mingzhu saw that Yu was so fierce to her, tears immediately fell. She cried loudly, you actually yelled at me. How can you treat me like this? Yu reached out and hugged Mingzhu in his arms. He comforted her tiredly. Do you feel uncomfortable? Don't cry. My heart is going to break when you cry. Mingzhu leaned on Yu's body. When she smelled the medicine on Yu's body, she immediately felt like vomiting. However, Yu hugged her tightly. The thick smell of medicine at the tip of her nose caused Mingzhu's stomach to churn. She pushed Yu away and threw up by the bed. Chapter 402. Mingzhu's vomit filled the entire room with a sour smell. Yu wrinkled his nose and looked at Mingzhu, who was lying on the edge of the bed and vomiting. Yu felt that something in his heart had been destroyed. In Yu's heart, Mingzhu was a gentle and poetic person. However, Mingzhu was vomiting filth in her mouth. Yu found it hard to accept. However, when this thought came to his mind, Yu was shocked. He loved Mingzhu so much. How could he have such thoughts? Yu felt that he needed to organize his thoughts. He got off the bed and ran out of Mingzhu's room in a panic. Mingzhu just stared blankly and cried silently. Yu spent the night in the study. He stood by the window the whole night and looked at the bright moon in the sky like a piece of wood. The next day, the newlyweds met their in-laws. Ning Shu and the old lady were wearing brocade clothes and waiting for Yu and Lin Yanli. What surprised Ning Shu was that Yu came over very early today. His complexion was very ugly, and there were dark circles under his eyes. His face was sallow, and his expression was extremely ugly. Why wasn't Yu with Mingzhu? Weren't the two of them conjoined twins? Ning Shu was curious, but he looked dignified and virtuous on the surface. After a while, Mingzhu also came over. She held her waist and walked in. Her face was extremely pale, so pale that the veins on her forehead were showing. The old lady saw Mingzhu's weak appearance and her face was pale. She quickly asked, "What's wrong with you? Did you not rest well?" Mingzhu glanced at Yu and said to the old lady, "I'm fine. I just can't eat. I feel nauseous and want to vomit." Pregnant women are all like this. Everyone has been through this. Even if you want to vomit, you have to eat, the old lady instructed Mingzhu. Ningxu saw that the atmosphere between Yu and Mingzhu was a little strange. It looked like they were quarreling. The newlyweds came in. Yu held Lin Yanlei's hand and stepped into the door. Lin Yanlei saw so many people looking at her and quickly wanted to shake Yu's hand off. However, Yu held it tightly, causing Lin Yanlei's face to turn red. Everyone responded with kind smiles. Mingzhu looked at Lin Yanlei and suddenly felt envious. Lin Yanlei first knelt down to serve tea to the old lady. The old lady smiled and gave her a pair of bracelets that were as white as jade. They were flawless. The old lady said, "This was given to me by your grandfather. I'll pass it on to you." "Thank you, grandfather." Lin Yanlei had a smile on her face. She looked very happy. Then, it was Yu's turn. Yu gave him a red packet. Lin Yanlei brought a cup of tea to Ningxu and called her mother. Ningxu's face was amiable, but she was crying in her heart. Was she going to become a grandmother soon? It felt so complicated. Ningxu gave Lin Yanlei a thick red packet and a pair of dragon and phoenix bracelets. Next was Mingzhu. Mingzhu didn't expect Lin Yanlei to serve her tea. Everyone else was kneeling, but Lin Yanlei was half squatting in front of Mingzhu. She knew that Lin Yanlei was polite. Mingzhu hurriedly took the teacup and took a sip. She looked even more nervous than Lin Yanlei, the newlywed. After drinking tea, she naturally had to give a gift. Mingzhu took a hairpin from her head and gave it to Lin Yanlei. Lin Yanlei took the hairpin and pursed her lips. She said, "Thank you, auntie." Seeing Mingzhu like this, the old lady rubbed her forehead. Yu saw Mingzhu's nervous and helpless appearance. His heart ached. He walked over and sat beside Mingzhu as if he wanted to lean on her. When Ningxu saw this, he only smiled faintly. The general's residence already had a daughter-in-law. Under Ningxu's suggestion, Lingyun gave the authority of the housekeeper to Lin Yanlei. Lin Yanlei didn't expect that she would be in charge of the general's residence as soon as she got married. She felt uneasy and wanted to return the authority to Ningxu. "Mother, your daughter-in-law just got married. It's not appropriate," Lin Yanlei said respectfully. Ningxu looked at Lin Yanlei. She was a dignified and elegant woman. She had a determined look on her face. After all, she lost her mother when she was young and had to take care of her younger brother. She was younger than Mingzhu, but she was much more intelligent than Mingzhu. Ningxu smiled and said, "You are already a member of the general's residence. These things were originally your responsibility. Don't worry, don't worry." Lin Yanlei was relieved. She was much more considerate than Lingyun. Ningxu let Lingyun learn from Lin Yanlei. The sisters-in-law got along very well. Yu seemed to like Lin Yanlei very much. She even delayed the date of her return to the Lizhou army. The two of them were in harmony. Although there was still some politeness between them, there was sweetness in their interactions. There was no vigor, only the warmth of a trickle of water. If Ningxu had to choose, she would rather choose this kind of slow and steady relationship. Like Mingzhu and Yu's fiery relationship, what would be left after it burned? The love between Yu and Lin Yanlei gave Mingzhu an indescribable feeling. Mingzhu often saw Yu pick a flower from the garden and put it in Lin Yanlei's hair while she was reading the account book. Yu's shoulder was placed on Lin Yanlei's, and the two of them looked at each other and smiled. It looked exceptionally beautiful. Yu had never done any of these things for her. Mingzhu held her waist and couldn't help but walk towards the two of them in the pavilion. They were so happy. Mingzhu walked into the pavilion and saw the petite Lin Yanlei almost embedded in Yu's embrace. Yu's body was strong and strong. She really wanted to know what it felt like to be in his embrace. "Aunt." Lin Yanlei bowed towards Mingzhu. Mingzhu looked at Lin Yanlei in a daze. This woman was beautiful and dignified. When she stood together with Yu, they were a perfect match. An elegant young man and a beautiful young woman. It was like a painting. Mingzhu looked at the two of them. There was an indescribable jealousy in her heart. Because Yu's young body was tall and broad. She didn't dare to get close to Yu. The smell of medicine on his body was strong. As long as she got close to him, she would feel disgusted. Now, Yu's body didn't have the vigorous smell of a man, but the smell of an old man in his twilight years. And it was mixed with the smell of medicine. Mingzhu didn't know why Yu kept drinking medicine. Li Nianlei saw Mingzhu looking at her and Yu strangely. Yu frowned and said, "Aunt, Nianlei and I will leave first." Saying that, she pulled Li Nianlei away. Mingzhu looked at the two of them and narrowed her eyes as they walked away. "Yu, don't you feel that Aunt is very strange?" Li Nianlei frowned and said to Yu. A woman's intuition was very sharp. Li Nianlei felt that Mingzhu had a faint hostility towards her. Li Nianlei couldn't understand why this aunt was hostile towards her. Yu didn't care and said, "Don't mind her. When you meet her in the future, just follow the etiquette." Li Nianlei smiled and looked at Yu gently. Chapter 403. Has the general been sleeping in the study recently? Zhu, who was beside Ning Shu, asked. Or helped Ning Shu wash up as she said, "Yes, he has been sleeping in the study for the past few days." Naturally, she was not as clingy as before. However, what Ning Shu did not expect was that Mingzhu did not make a fuss. Yu slept in the study while Mingzhu continued to live her own life. Mingzhu was the kind of person who would not be able to stand being ignored. However, this made Ning Shu very surprised. After washing up, Ning Shu went to eat breakfast. When he walked into the hall, Li Nianlei had already asked the servants to set the table. Her diligent manner made Ning Shu feel a little ashamed. Yu was blessed to have such a gentle and considerate wife. After a while, the old lady also came. Her eyes were filled with joy when she saw Li Nianlei. She clearly liked this granddaughter-in-law. Other than Yu and Mingzhu, the two eye-catching people, Ning Shu felt that this family was very happy. She should be leaving this world soon. Ning Shu didn't do anything in this world because she had more important things to do. She couldn't afford to be angered by this shameless pair of adulterous couple. Every time she saw Yu's sallow face, Ning Shu would reveal a meaningful and dignified smile. Then, when she saw Mingzhu's bitter and regretful expression, Ning Shu revealed an even more dignified smile. Ning Shu, Mingzhu was a little girl. She longed for a tall and strong man to conquer her and dominate her. However, Yu did not seem like a dominator now. Yu's masculinity could not be displayed. In bed, he could not conquer Mingzhu. Perhaps in Mingzhu's heart, Yu's image of a god had begun to collapse. Moreover, ever since Mingzhu became pregnant, Ning Shu had not seen any joy on her face. What made Ning Shu even more shocked was that Mingzhu's gaze towards Yu was very strange. Could it be that Mingzhu had some thoughts towards Yu? In the storyline, Yu liked Mingzhu, but Mingzhu did not like Yu. At that time, Yu was immature and only relied on his deep feelings to love Mingzhu. However, Mingzhu did not like him. Could it be that because of Yu's problem, Mingzhu changed her target? Ning Shu shook his head. That was absolutely impossible. Mingzhu and Yu were true lovers who could follow each other through life and death. However, the current in Yu's body was strong and powerful. She was no longer a pretty face. Her entire body was filled with an imposing aura. She indeed looked more charming than the gigolo from before. Yu didn't come over for breakfast, so old Madame Fu asked someone to send the food to his study. When Mingzhu heard that Yu did not come, her eyes flashed, she pursed her lips and drank the porridge bit by bit. Sitting opposite Mingzhu were Yu and Li Nianlei. Mingzhu kept looking at them, but Ning Shu kept looking at Mingzhu. No matter how he looked at it, there was something wrong with this pearl. Feeling that someone was looking at him, Mingzhu turned his head and met Ning Shu's gaze. Mingzhu immediately lowered his head to eat his porridge. He did not dare to look around anymore. After breakfast, the group of people walked out. Mingzhu, who was walking out, suddenly tripped and fell straight to the ground. Ah! Mingzhu held his stomach and cried out in pain. "Why did you push me?" Mingzhu pointed at Li Nianlei. Li Nianlei, who was standing beside Mingzhu, had a pale face. She was stunned and immediately said, "I didn't push you, I didn't." "Save my child, please save my child." Ming Zhu cried and shouted. Ning Shu squatted down to help Ming Zhu, but Ming Zhu brushed away Ning Shu's hand and held her stomach as if Ning Shu was going to harm her child. "Mother, I really didn't push Aunt." Li Nianlei's voice had a sobbing tone. She really did not do that. She did not know that Aunt had fallen to the ground. "Bring Ming Zhu back to the courtyard first. Go find a doctor, find a doctor." Old Madame Fu used her walking stick to shout. Ming Zhu's face was pale as she shouted, "I beg you, please save my child, save my child." But when Ning Shu reached out to help Ming Zhu's face was full of fear. It was as if everyone there was going to harm her. Ning Shu squinted his eyes and said to An Yu, who was comforting Li Nianlei, "Bring Ming Zhu back to her courtyard." As soon as he said that, Ning Shu saw the light of desire in Ming Zhu's eyes. Ning Shu's heart suddenly had a strange feeling. "That's not good." An Yu shook his head. He and Ming Zhu were not of the same generation. In name, she was a concubine mother. It was not good for him to carry her. Hearing An Yu's rejection, Ming Zhu's tears fell. Ning Shu saw that Ming Zhu was not bleeding. He guessed that she was fine, so he asked Zhu to call An Yu over. When An Yu came over, he saw his beloved lying on the ground. These people were watching from the side. He was suddenly angry. "Ming Zhu is pregnant. How can you treat her like this?" An Yu roared and hurriedly carried Ming Zhu to the courtyard. Ning Shu sneered. The group followed into the courtyard. Ming Zhu was lying on the bed with a pale face. An Yu held her hand tightly and said, "Our child will be fine. It will be fine." The doctor came over and said that there was nothing serious. She was just frightened and needed to rest. Ming Zhu looked at Li Nianlei's face and asked, "Why did you push me?" "I didn't. I really didn't push you." Li Nianlei's face was pale. She said calmly, "I was on your left. If I pushed you, you should have fallen to the right. But you fell to my side." "You were the one who pulled me," Ming Zhu said sadly. Ning Shu said coldly, "One moment you say that someone pushed you, the next moment you say that someone pulled you. What is going on? Are you questioning Ming Zhu?" Ming Zhu almost lost her child, and you still want to interrogate her like this? Do you still have any humanity? An Yu said sadly. His sallow face was twisted in pain. Ning Shu, calm down. Don't be angry. An Yu protected his wife behind him and confronted An Yu. Nianlei would never do such a thing. Why don't you say that your concubine fell down by herself? How dare you talk to your father like this? And you seemed to feel that his dignity was being challenged. He spoke harshly to An Yu. He was like an old lion trying to maintain his dignity. He suddenly realized that there was no one standing beside him in the room. Ming Zhu, who was lying on the bed, only knew how to cry. Being all alone, loneliness welled up in An Yu's heart. An Yu said coldly, "I'm telling the truth. No one saw what happened clearly. My wife cannot be bullied." Ming Zhu saw An Yu like this and An Yu who was silent. Her tears flowed even more fiercely. She did not say a word. The old lady slammed her walking stick and said, "All right, stop fooling around. Ming Zhu, take care of your body. This matter will be over." Chapter 404. Because of the old madam's intervention, this matter was resolved. As for the truth of the matter, everyone probably knew the answer in their hearts. The group of people left Ming Zhu's courtyard. In the house, Ming Zhu looked at An Yu with tears in her eyes. His figure seemed to be bent, and he looked much older. Ming Zhu's mouth tasted bitter, so bitter that she wanted to vomit. "But why didn't you help me? And Yu knows how to protect his wife, but what about you? We almost lost our child. How could you do this?" Ming Zhu hammered An Yu's chest. "Do you know how scared I was just now?" An Yu's expression became even more desolate. "The child in your stomach is my child, but An Yu is also my child. Ming Zhu, I'm in a difficult position." Ming Zhu's eyes widened, and tears trembled on her eyelashes. "An Yu, how could you do this? You don't love me at all. You still think about Wei Lingxian in your heart. That's why you're so good to Wei Lingxian's child. You promised me that you would treat me well for the rest of my life. And you, I lost my status as a princess because of you. I don't want anything. I only want you. Don't treat me like this. Mingzhu cried and shouted. And you thought of the shocking things Mingzhu had done for him. He hugged Mingzhu and comforted her. Mingzhu, I love you. Do you want me to dig out my heart for you to see? You're pregnant now. You always like to think too much. Mingzhu, let's move out. And you said firmly, let's move out of the general's residence. Mingzhu was stunned. You want to move out of the general's residence with me? I only have you in my heart. And you looked at Mingzhu. Mingzhu shook her head. Your mother won't agree. It's good that you have the heart. Mingzhu lay down, and her tears turned into a smile. Seeing that Mingzhu was so righteous, and you was naturally happy. He kissed Mingzhu's forehead. Mingzhu smelled the bitter and unpleasant smell of medicine in Inyu's mouth. And you, can you stop drinking medicine? Mingzhu said. I can't smell medicine now. Okay. And you thought of his body and hesitated for a moment before agreeing. On the other side, Lin Yanlei was very uneasy. Ning Shu said, Mother, I really didn't do such a thing. I have no reason to do such a thing. Ning Shu smiled and said, Of course I believe you. In the future, if we meet Mingzhu, we will take a detour. Seeing that her mother-in-law believed her, Lin Yanlei breathed a sigh of relief and told Ning Shu, Mother, I don't think Inyang likes me. Of course. Maybe it's because you're happy, so she's jealous of you, Ning Shu said straightforwardly. Lin Yanlei had something that Mingzhu did not. Jealous of me? But isn't she in love with father-in-law? Lin Yanlei's expression changed and she said, Mother, I didn't mean it. Nothing. Ning Shu said indifferently, I don't blame you. You don't have to take it to heart. Just live well within you. Lin Yanlei nodded and left. As soon as Lin Yanlei left, Ning Shu suddenly laughed. The more he thought about it, the funnier it was. What was Mingzhu doing now? Using her own child to frame others, all because of her own jealousy. She was jealous that Lin Yanlei was the main wife, jealous that Lin Yanlei had a young and valiant husband. People were indeed greedy. In the plot, Inyu loved Mingzhu. Even if Inyu was married, he still had Mingzhu in his heart, but Mingzhu did not care. Wei Lingxian loved but could not get her, so she was in pain. Everyone in the general's residence was on Mingzhu's side. Inyu loved her, and Inyu also loved her. It seemed that Mingzhu was the happiest in the general's residence. But now, Lin Yanlei appeared. Her husband loved her dearly, and everyone liked her. This made Mingzhu jealous, especially now that Inyu was not very good. Mingzhu's personality was weak and obedient. She liked men who were as tall as gods. Inyu, on the other hand, was younger than Inyu. She had strong hormones. Sure enough, things between the bed were not smooth, and all the problems came out. There was nothing between a man and a woman that could not be solved with one thing. If one thing was not enough, then two. It was great to torture each other like this. Let's see how long your true love can last. There was a limit to everything in the world. The faster you overdraft, the faster it dissipates. Ning Shu hummed a song, looking very happy. Because of Mingzhu's slip, old madam did not let Mingzhu come over to eat with everyone. The reason was to take care of the baby. Between her granddaughter-in-law and her son's concubine, old madam chose her granddaughter-in-law. Since Mingzhu did not go, Inyu naturally had to accompany Mingzhu. Without Mingzhu's bitter face, Ning Shu ate much more happily. Inyu wanted to return to the army in Lizhou. He still wanted to return to the army after a month of marriage. It was just a pity for the newlyweds. Although Lin Yanlei was reluctant, she did not stubbornly let Inyu stay. Ning Shu approved of Inyu returning to the army. The current Inyu was much more capable than the Inyu in the plot. It was not Inyu's turn to save him on the battlefield. The father and son did not have too much of a knot because of Mingzhu. Inyu would not die like in the plot. If Inyu did not die, Mingzhu would not die for love. It was good to be alive. Don't die. Ning Shu was thinking about when to leave this world when Zhu came in and told him that Mingzhu was born prematurely. The child was born prematurely at 7 months. Ning Shu did not know the reason. He heard from the servants in Mingzhu's courtyard that Mingzhu and Enyu quarreled. Enyu pushed Mingzhu, and Mingzhu fell to the ground and saw red. Ningxu, who heard the news, was speechless. She was quite good at acting. When Ningxu rushed to Mingzhu's courtyard, old madam was already waiting. Mingzhu's high-pitched and painful voice came from the house. If she had the strength to scream, she might as well save the strength to give birth. Enyu knelt on the ground and held his head with both hands. He pulled his hair and hammered his head. "It's all my fault. It's all my fault." Ningxu was expressionless. He pretended to comfort him. "Mingzhu will be fine." Old madam sighed. She felt that it was not easy for this child to be born safely. She did not know if a child born prematurely at 7 months could survive. Another high-pitched voice came from the house. When Enyu heard this voice, his eyes turned red and he hammered the ground like a wild beast. "Nothing can happen to you," Enyu said in a low and painful voice. Old madam asked, "What happened? Why did you see red?" Enyu's lips trembled. There were some pregnancy spots on the pregnant Mingzhu's face. Enyu had just said it casually, but Mingzhu's reaction was huge. She cried and shouted that Enyu despised her and that Enyu still had Wei Lingxian in his heart. In the beginning, Enyu still tried to persuade her. He swore to the heavens that he only had Mingzhu in his heart, but Mingzhu still did not believe him. She cried and blamed Enyu. Mingzhu had nothing now. She had no family. She had been demoted to a commoner. Her brother was no longer her brother. Enyu was her only hope, so Mingzhu naturally had to hold on to him. Chapter 405. No matter what, Mingzhu only had Enyu. She was so poor that she only had Enyu. Even if she was dissatisfied with Enyu, she could not leave him. She had developed an emotional dependence on Enyu. Mingzhu had been in the general's manor for a while. In private, there were servants who mocked her for not being a Junju and coming to be someone's concubine. In the beginning, Mingzhu did not think much of it and even mocked them for not knowing love. She was not even afraid of death for Enyu and did not care about her status. However, after staying in the general's manor for a long time and hearing such words, Mingzhu's heart began to waver. Her life in the general's manor was not as comfortable as when she was a Junju. She even had to haggle over every ounce of money. However, there was no turning back. Right now, Mingzhu could only be with Enyu. She even had to be lovey-dovey with Enyu to comfort herself that her decision was not wrong. However, she was sensitive and wanted to use a sharp attitude to test Enyu's sincerity. As long as Enyu's attitude was slightly off, Mingzhu's heart would be filled with regret. Right now, Enyu and Mingzhu's hearts were tired. However, they had to maintain this relationship and show that they loved each other very much. Not only did Mingzhu give a lot, but Enyu also gave a lot. His career had come to an end. His colleagues even mocked him behind his back. They mocked him for losing the emperor's favor for a woman. In order to prove to everyone that they were right, Enyu and Mingzhu could only continue to love each other. Ningxu, why are they so tired? Tsk. Mingzhu's moans in the room became weaker and weaker. Basin after basin of blood was carried out. It was a shocking sight. The matriarch closed her eyes. Clearly, she no longer had any expectations for this child. Ningxu had Zhu, or give a piece of ginseng to the midwife for Mingzhu to eat. Ginseng could replenish energy and at least give birth to the child. And you saw Ningxu take out a piece of ginseng and was startled. He said, "Ling Xian, thank you." Ningxu smiled and did not say anything. "Mother, has the child not been born yet?" Li Nianlei had been instructing the servants to boil water and boil medicine. However, after such a long time, Li Nianlei came over to take a look. She was worried about Ningxu. Ningxu also frowned. In the plot, Mingzhu was supposed to die. Could it be that Mingzhu would die? Ningxu did not want Mingzhu to die. If Mingzhu died, she would become a cinnabar mole and bright moonlight in Enyu's heart. Being together day and night, they would only see each other's flaws. If a person died, the beauty left in the hearts of the living would be magnified infinitely. Ningxu returned to his own courtyard and wrote a prescription for Zhu to get the herbs. Mingzhu had already lost all her strength from screaming. Furthermore, she felt as if there was a knife twisting in her stomach, and her mouth was being fed bitter medicine. Mingzhu felt that she was going to die. Before she died, Mingzhu wanted to see Yu, but what came out of her mouth was a weak moan. The midwife shouted with all her might. Mingzhu seemed to have heard Wei Lingxian's voice outside the house. She was talking to Yu so tenderly. Mingzhu was furious. She had painfully given birth, but Yu stayed with Wei Lingxian. If she died, would Yu still remember her? Ning Shu saw that Mingzhu was not giving birth for a long time and shook her head. She deliberately raised her voice and shouted, "Hubby, Mingzhu will definitely be fine. I will always be with you until Mingzhu gives birth." And Yu was originally at a loss, but when he heard his wife comforting him, the anger in his heart dissipated a little. He said, "Lingxian, I'm very worried about Mingzhu." Ning Shu was speechless. How could he say such things in front of his wife? It seemed that Yu did not care about his wife's feelings at all. After a day, Mingzhu finally gave birth. She gave birth to a thin and weak daughter with bruises all over her body. Mingzhu's body was weak, and her pelvis was small to begin with. In addition, this child was not a ripe melon, so it was especially difficult to give birth. The old lady looked at the kitten-like baby in the swaddling clothes. Her breathing was weak, and she cried like a kitten. She sighed. And Yu did not look at the child. He wanted to rush into the delivery room, which was filled with blood, but the old lady stopped him. Ning Shu went in to take a look. Mingzhu's face was extremely pale, without a trace of blood. Ning Shu secretly pricked Mingzhu for a while. Of course, he was doing a good deed to prevent Mingzhu from bleeding. Ning Shu firmly believed that death was nothing. Living and enduring everything was the most painful. In the original plot, Mingzhu and Yu died and were buried together, while Wei Lingxian lived and endured everything painfully. The child was too small and did not have the ability to suck at all. Even if there was a wet nurse, the child could not drink milk on her own. She could only let the wet nurse squeeze the milk out. Li Nianlei could only feed the child bit by bit. Furthermore, the child choked easily. Every time she fed the child, Li Nianlei trembled in fear, afraid that something would happen to the child. When Mingzhu woke up, she wanted a child. When she saw how thin and weak her child was, she immediately cried and blamed Yu. When something happened to Mingzhu, Yu was very worried. However, Mingzhu was fine. Hearing Mingzhu's blame, Yu felt very tired. Looking at his thin and weak daughter, Yu felt even more tired. The old lady knew that Mingzhu was not someone who could take care of the child. If she really let Mingzhu take care of the child might not survive. She took the child away and took care of it herself. Then she asked Ning Shu and Li Nianlei to help. The old lady's actions made Mingzhu break down. Her own child actually had to be raised by someone else, and it was even raised by Wei Lingxian. Mingzhu was very sad. She cried and asked Yu to bring the child back. Yu explained that the child was in danger now. When the child was better, they could bring her back. Furthermore, Mingzhu was weak now and could not take care of the child at all. Seeing that Yu did not agree, Mingzhu cried even more sadly. She blamed Yu for separating mother and daughter. She blamed Yu for being seduced by Wei Lingxian. Yu was helpless. He hugged Mingzhu tightly and firmly said that he loved Mingzhu. This sentence was always on the tip of his tongue. Mingzhu's heart ached that Yu refused to take their child back. She lifted the blanket and ran barefoot to the old lady's courtyard in her underwear. With a plop, she knelt in front of the old lady. Ning Shu was speechless. Didn't her leg hurt? Furthermore, she was in confinement. Was it okay to ruin her body like this? When Mingzhu saw Ning Shu holding her child in his arms, her heart burned with anger. She felt that Wei Lingxian was going to snatch her child away. "Old madam, please return my child to me. I can't live without her." Mingzhu's face was covered in tears. She kowtowed to the old lady in a pitiful manner. "Old madam, please don't separate us." The old lady gasped and almost closed her eyes. She stared blankly at Mingzhu, not knowing what to say. Ning Shu felt that Mingzhu's brain was indeed different. Could she take care of her daughter in her condition? Chapter 406. Mingzhu insisted on getting her child back. She did not care about her weak body and knelt on the ground. She kowtowed as if she was not afraid of pain and kept begging the old lady to return her child. She looked so miserable and helpless that it was almost snowing in June. Ningxu felt that the child in her arms had peed. It was warm, and then the child burst into tears. His cries were soft, and it sounded like he was sobbing. It made one's heart ache. Ningxu and Li Nianlei quickly changed the child's diaper. When Mingzhu saw her daughter crying, her tears fell even more. She kowtowed to the old lady and said, "Old lady, I beg you to pity me. Don't separate us, mother and daughter. My child is still so young, she can't leave me." The old lady was speechless. Ningxu was speechless. Li Nianlei was speechless. Ningxu did not know what Mingzhu was thinking. According to the rules, she was the child's mother. She had the right to take the child away. As a concubine, Mingzhu did not have the right to raise the child. Besides, the child was weak now. No one felt that Mingzhu could take care of the child. However, Mingzhu felt that others wanted to steal her child. She could not understand it. The old lady held her walking stick and said coldly, "Go back to where you came from. Don't make a scene here." Mingzhu looked at the old lady in disbelief. She said bitterly, "Old lady, you have children too. Why are you so cruel to separate us?" Ningxu rubbed his forehead. Why wasn't you not online at this time? He could not take it anymore. This kind of person lived in her own world. She could not hear what others said. And you rushed over and saw Mingzhu trembling and kneeling on the ground. He hurriedly carried her up. Mingzhu cried and said to Enyu, "Can you take our child back? That's our child." Enyu rubbed his forehead and said tiredly, "Mother has never thought of stealing our child. This child is also her granddaughter. Mother will not harm her. The child is weak now. Mother will help take care of her. You have to recover first." Mingzhu bit her pale lips and looked at Enyu accusingly. She was sad that Enyu was not on her side. Enyu carried Mingzhu away. Mingzhu struggled the whole way. The old lady sighed. "What kind of people are they?" Ningxu only smiled faintly. Mingzhu was innocent and naive. She did not know much about the world, but she could not even differentiate between good and bad, so there would be trouble between the two of them. After that, Mingzhu would run over to the old madam every 2 to 3 days, insisting that the old madam return her daughter to her. She did not do her confinement properly, and would often kneel on the ground and cow. The old lady was so angry that she had a migraine. Fortunately, the child could drink milk on her own now. Seeing Mingzhu's behavior, the old lady originally wanted to wait for the child to get better before giving the child to Mingzhu, but she decided to raise the child by her side. She was afraid that when the child grew up, it would be like Mingzhu. The general's residence could not afford to lose this person. Although she was a concubine's daughter, she could not lose the reputation of the general's residence. Therefore, now that the old lady was determined not to hand the child over to Mingzhu, Mingzhu made an even bigger fuss. She would make a fuss with Enyu every 2 to 3 days, asking him to take the child back. On one side was his mother, and on the other was his beloved. Moreover, the old lady had already made the reason very clear. Now that the child was weak, the old lady was helping. The old lady was already old, and she still had to take care of the child. She was already very tired, and Mingzhu was still making a fuss with him. And you did not know what to do. And you had no choice but to be tortured by Mingzhu. He rarely went to Mingzhu's courtyard and always avoided her, afraid that there would be some conflict. He simply did not know what to do with the crying Mingzhu now. After a month of confinement, Mingzhu was even more delicate than before. She was even weaker than before, and her face was so pale that there was no color at all on her face. Ningxu felt that if the wind blew a little stronger, Mingzhu would be blown away. Why did she torture herself like this? Why did she have to suffer so much? Ningxu did not understand what these female leads were thinking. Life was already so difficult, so why did they have to torture themselves? Li Nianlei was found to be pregnant, which made the old lady really happy. This was a great-grandchild. Ningxu was also happy. He felt that he had aged and become a grandmother. When Mingzhu heard this news, Her tears fell because she thought of her daughter again. During her confinement, Mingzhu was always crying, causing her eyes to be hazy with tears. Sometimes she would even cry uncontrollably. When the wind blew a little stronger, her eyes would feel uncomfortable. Mingzhu had been out of confinement for 2 months, but Mingzhu and Enyu did not have any lingering feelings. Mingzhu, who was immersed in her daughter's matters all day, finally reacted and gently pestered Enyu. Mingzhu had been making a fuss, and suddenly she was no longer angry. Enyu was also very happy. Naturally, they hugged each other. Enyu, who had been drinking Chinese medicine for nearly a year, was still very fast. Soon he handed over his rations, causing Mingzhu, who was hugging Enyu, to stiffen. Mingzhu was very angry and pushed Enyu away. Then she turned her back to Enyu. Enyu rubbed his forehead in distress. He did not know what was wrong with his body. Being despised by Mingzhu, Enyu felt that his dignity was trampled on by Mingzhu. Both of them were unable to face each other. Enyu put on his clothes and left. Mingzhu silently cried again. The next day, Ningxu saw Enyu's sallow and distressed face and Mingzhu's incomparably bitter face. She chuckled and chatted with Lin Yanlei, ignoring the two people who were not living harmoniously on the bed. The old lady told Lin Yanlei to pay attention to things during her pregnancy. Lin Yanlei smiled and nodded. When Enyu came in, he saw such a harmonious scene. However, it did not seem to have anything to do with him. When he walked in, his family only glanced at him and talked to each other. No one cared about him. Enyu was helpless and angry. Ningxu saw that there was nothing between Mingzhu and Enyu. There was no eye contact. Mingzhu's face was full of fatigue, and there was numbness between her brows. Therefore, it was easy to fall in love, but not easy to continue loving. Love was fragile and changeable. A little setback could cause love to change. After breakfast, Ningxu returned to his courtyard and heard 2333's voice. Ding, mission completed. Leaving the mission world. Ningxu smiled. He finally left this world. His head was dizzy. When Ningxu opened his eyes again, he was already in the system space. He then lay on the bed and slept. When he woke up, Ningxu first cultivated for a period of time. When his soul was full, he took the watering bottle and sprinkled water on the potted plants. Seeing the water dripping down from the green leaves, Ningxu felt his restless heart calm down. Chapter 407. 2333. Let's take a look at the points for this mission. Ningxu was still wondering if he had guessed Wei Lingxian's intentions correctly. Ningxu had already tried his best to save the general's mansion so that Wei Lingxian's 2 children could have a better life. Okay. 2333 said. Ningxu's stats panel appeared in front of him. Number 23333 name, Ningxu, beginner mission taker, age, 27 points, 500002500000 soul, 200 health, 60 wisdom, 85 charm, 3 luck, 34 mental strength, 120 combat strength, 40 faith, 1 aptitude, 26 merit, 1520 skills, 5th ring spear technique, trash fighting technique, beginner level honorable title, goddess of war, selfless ancestor aura, mother of the world, queen's blessing, sister model worker, Qinshi's blessing, leader's halo, grass's blessing, fulfill Wei Lingxian's wish. Mission completion, 100. Received 30 attribute points. Ningxu was very surprised. 250,000 points and 30 attribute points. This was the highest number of points in history, and also the highest number of attribute points. Ningxu breathed a sigh of relief. This meant that Wei Lingxian approved of her actions, so she had to try to put herself in her shoes. Ningxu fully understood the importance of wisdom, and added her attribute points to wisdom and combat strength. Number 23333 name, Ningxu, beginner mission taker, age, 27 points, 250,000 soul, 200 health, 60 wisdom, 85 15 charm, 3 luck, 34 mental strength, 120 combat strength, 40 15 faith, 1 aptitude, 26 merit, 35 skills, 5th ring spear technique, trash fighting technique, beginner level honorable title, goddess of war, selfless ancestor aura, mother of the world, queen's blessing, sister model worker, Qinshi's blessing, leader's halo, grass's blessing. Ning Shu added 15 attribute points to wisdom, but he didn't feel anything. Ning Shu picked up a book from the bookshelf and started to read it. The things that were difficult for her to understand in the past were now much easier to read. She didn't have the same confused expression as before. Could this be the performance of a high IQ, making it easier to understand knowledge? Ning Shu asked, "Is my intelligence high now? What is the upper limit of intelligence?" 2333. Hee. What does hee mean? Ning Shu felt the system was mocking him. 2333 said, "Your IQ is really not that high. Among all the quest enforcers, you are probably at the bottom of the bottom. Your IQ should be around 500. Your IQ Did he mean that she was mentally retarded? Ning Shu's heart, which had been a little proud a moment ago, turned cold in an instant. Ning Shu started to browse the exchange shop and bought water, fasting pills, and medicine. Seeing that she had 300,000 points, Ning Shu wanted to buy something. However, when she saw that there were millions of points, Ning Shu was stunned. Especially when she saw an amulet that could block a fatal attack for a quest enforcer. This was simply a lifesaver. How could there be such a thing? If one encountered a fatal attack during a mission, one's soul would not be erased because of being killed. It would be the same as the previous mission enforcers and would be killed by others. Ning Shu drooled as she looked at the amulet. However, this amulet could only be exchanged with merit points. Moreover, it required 40 merit points. However, she only had 35 merit points at the moment. She was still short of 5 merit points. Moreover, merit points were not something that could be earned like points. Even the system didn't know how to calculate merit points. A quest might give 1 merit point, or it might not. For example, Wei Lingxian's quest didn't give her any merit points. When she had enough merit points, she would definitely exchange them for an amulet. However, Ning Shu still felt that merit points were a little expensive. She had completed so many quests, but she only had 35 merit points. However, anything that could save her life was good stuff. Ning Shu sat on the ground and began to cultivate. She felt that her soul was stronger than before. When she touched her soul, it felt like her skin. Ning Shu wondered if she could rebuild her body. No matter what, there was no harm in having a strong soul. It wouldn't be easily affected by the emotions of the person who entrusted it. Ning Shu stretched and said to 2333, "Let's enter the quest." Ning Shu's head was dizzy for a moment. When her soul had completely adapted, she opened her eyes. The light was a little dazzling. Ning Shu blocked it with her hands and then turned her hands over to examine them. It was because this pair of hands was too beautiful. They were slender like jade and looked like they were carved out of jade. The nails were shiny and elegant. However, this pair of hands belonged to a man. Because they were very wide, Ning Shu touched her chest. She had chest muscles, but they were flat. Damn, how did I become a man again? After touching her lower body, Ning Shu completely gave up. She looked at the decoration in the room. It was low-key and luxurious. Everything was exquisite. Obviously, the owner was rich. And the bed was very big. Ning Shu suddenly thought of a sentence. Every morning, I wake up on a 60-square-meter bed. Go away, you damn money. 2333, how did I become a man? Ning Shu asked 2333. Last time it was a mistake, but this time it was a man again? 2333 didn't say anything. Ning Shu shouted again, "Hey, 2333, what's going on?" 2333 still didn't say anything. Ning Shu, what's wrong with it? Is it dead? Ning Shu shouted twice. The system died. Ning Shu gave up on summoning the system and accepted the plot first. But after seeing the plot, Ning Shu felt that his whole body was not good. Very bad. The original owner was called Gong Luo. He was the CEO of W City's Miyagi Group. The Miyagi Group was deeply rooted in W City. In the W City's business world, Gong Luo was born with a diamond in his mouth. He was handsome and rich. He could beat any woman between the ages of 8 and 88. The original owner had a high IQ and was a man of means. After Gong Luo took over the Miyagi group, it went up another level. The Gong family became a top rich family. This kind of man could make a woman go crazy. Gong Luo was a man who was loved by millions. But Ning Shu had a headache because Gong Luo was the male lead of this world. Male lead, damn, how can a main character like you counterattack? Ning Shu felt that he was running further and further down the unknown road. This was the male lead's top configuration. What was there to be dissatisfied with? Ning Shu felt that he was transported to the wrong world. And this plot made Ning Shu want to die. He really wanted to die. Chapter 408. This was a doting story that was so sweet that it made one's teeth fall off. The female lead, Enwan's boyfriend, cheated on her and slept with her best friend. Enwan was so angry that she decided to find a gigolo and slept with Gong Luo. When she went to work the next day, she found out that the gigolo she found was actually her superior and the company's CEO. What followed was a love story. Before Enwan could react, the two of them had already gotten a marriage certificate and started a sweet story of doting on his wife. If there were any villains who came to cause trouble, Gong Luo dealt with them one by one. Ning Shu rubbed his forehead. He really couldn't understand why the high and mighty Seo would fancy an ordinary woman who was cheated on by her boyfriend. She didn't sleep with her boyfriend, then her boyfriend cheated on her, so she went to look for a gigolo. When she was with her boyfriend, she kept her chastity, but when her boyfriend cheated on her, she boldly looked for a gigolo. Furthermore, Gong Luo only wanted this woman and doted on her. It was simply killing Ning Shu's logic dog. Perhaps this virgin body was left for the male lead, Gong Luo. Ning Shu could only sigh. Girls must protect themselves well. What if the gigolo was sick? What if she got pregnant? What if she got pregnant? Was she going to look for the gigolo? Ning Shu lit a candle for Enwan's ex-boyfriend. He was destined to not get the female lead's body. You couldn't sleep with a tall, rich and handsome guy just because you went out. If you slept with a cake-rich guy, the cake-rich guy might not necessarily take responsibility. Gong Luo was very good to Enwan, so good that all the women in the world were envious of Enwan. The story of an ordinary woman and Seo. The overbearing Seo fell in love with me. Gong Luo was a very smart man, but when he faced Enwan, he doted on her unconditionally. He was like a marionette, doing his best to treat Enwan well. He treated Enwan as if she was his own life. Gong Luo felt that something was wrong, but when he faced Enwan, his heart softened and he doted on her. Even if there were any misunderstandings, they would be easily resolved. Gong Luo felt that he was a marionette, always doing exaggerated things for Enwan, such as chasing her from 1,000 miles away, a room full of diamond rings. When he faced Enwan, Gong Luo felt that he was broken. Ning Shu felt that this was love. Since he slept with her, he had to take responsibility for her. Gong Luo felt an unknown force controlling him, and even felt that the heavens had forcefully stuffed such a woman into his hands. He didn't know if he loved Gong Luo deeply, but in his heart he felt that it had to be her. Gong Luo had a fiancée, but he married Enwan, so his fiancée was naturally used as cannon fodder. Ning Shu felt that she should become this cannon fodder's fiancée instead of the great Nanju lord. What the fuck? Right now, Gong Luo wanted to get rid of the power that was controlling him. Gong Luo was a proud person. He would never accept a love that was controlled like this. Even if he really liked this Enwan and loved this Enwan, it was out of his own heart and not because he was being controlled by some unknown power. Ning Shu scratched his head. Oh, how could she resist the heavenly Tao laws? I refuse with a capital refuse. But now that he had lost contact with the system, Ning Shu couldn't go back now, so he had to do this quest even if he didn't want to. Ning Shu felt tired. He had never met such a deceptive system before. Feeling that I will never love again. Even Gong Luo couldn't get rid of the plot, so how could she? Ning Shu wiped his face and got up from the bed, preparing to take a shower. He looked at his own body. It was strong and muscular, with abs and a Apollo's belt. It was simply too perfect. Especially his face, which was slanted to his temples. His facial features were exquisite, and his pair of bright black eyes were deep and mesmerizing. Ning Shu was amazed by his handsomeness. Touching his male body, Ning Shu finished showering and put on his suit. When he looked in the mirror, he was practically drooling. The suit made his body look tall and slender, with a kind of abstinence and sexiness that made people want to conquer him. Ning Shu went downstairs. The servant, Auntie Li, told Ning Shu, "Sir, your coffee is ready." Ning Shu sat on the sofa, reading the newspaper, and then drinking the extremely bitter coffee, smacking his lips. Ning Shu leaned against the sofa. Since he wanted to get rid of the plot, he could solve it by not sleeping with Wan. Yes, not sleeping with Wan. After breakfast, Ning Shu went to work. Then he realized that with his intelligence, he couldn't handle the company's affairs well. At first, he was a little flustered. How did Gong Luo manage to handle the company's affairs and date at the same time? Whenever something happened to Wan, Gong Luo would put down his work and even hold a meeting. If something happened to Wan, the meeting would be suspended. It seemed that with Wan, the center of Gong Luo's life became Wan, and only Wan. Ning Shu firmly believed in the concept of love. That was, if you liked someone, you had to work hard to be like the person you liked. Only then would you be worthy of the person you liked. Wan was a very ordinary girl. She grew up in a completely different environment from Gong Luo. The level of contact was also different, and the style of doing things was also different. How could they love each other when they had different values? In this love, only Gong Luo endlessly gave, and Wan was a woman living under Gong Luo's wings. In this life, she only needed to do one thing, and that was to let Gong Luo pamper her, and pamper her again. Ning Shu had a headache. After dealing with the matters in the morning, if it weren't for the presence of a few secretaries, Ning Shu would have really knelt down in front of this pile of documents. Feeling a little tired, Ning Shu went to the bedroom next to the office to rest. He sat on the bed and meditated to see if he could cultivate the ultimate martial arts. After cultivating for a while, he felt refreshed. However, he didn't cultivate Qi Jin. This world wasn't suitable for cultivation in the first place. There were restrictions. In addition, he didn't have enough spiritual energy. It was enough to strengthen his body. After leaving the room and looking at the documents on the table, Ning Shu felt a headache coming on. He felt that his intelligence was really not good. It seemed that he had to add more attributes to his intelligence points in the future. Otherwise, he would really not be able to handle some missions in the future. Ning Shu decided to go to the bar at night to take a look. He wanted to see how the plot would have developed if he hadn't slept with Wan. At night, the lights of the city were waning. Ning Shu drove to the bar. When he walked in, the bar was filled with noisy music. Everyone was doing their best to twist their bodies. Perhaps it was because this body was too obvious. The moment Ning Shu walked in, many women surrounded her. There were even men who surrounded her. Fuck, I'm not gay. I'm not a lesbian. Ning Shu saw Wan sitting in the corner drinking. She was drinking and cursing her scumbag ex-boyfriend. Ning Shu looked at Wan. She wasn't very beautiful, but she had a pure aura. Her temperament made people feel comfortable. A delicate little beauty, a pretty girl from a humble family. Ning Shu didn't appear in front of Wan, but he also didn't see Wan looking for a male escort. Instead, someone wanted to take advantage of her and was chased away by Wan. There was a change in the plot. Chapter 409. Ning Shu watched Wan from a hidden spot. Seeing that Wan kept drinking, she left the bar. Ning Shu followed behind her and saw Wan get into a taxi. Looking at the taxi driving away, Ning Shu had a bad feeling in her heart. She felt that this mission was going to fail. For the next few days, Ning Shu went to this bar. Whenever she went, Wan would be there. Furthermore, she drank more and more. She kept scolding the adulterous couple. Clearly, she was very angry with her ex-boyfriend and best friend. However, Ning Shu did not see any signs of Wan looking for a gigolo. Damn, Ning Shu finally knew where the problem was. If she did not have any relationship with Wan, then the plot would not progress. The beginning of the story was Wan and Gong Luo sleeping together. Only then did the story progress. However, now that she did not have any relationship with Nuan, the plot remained stagnant. Ning Shu realized a very dangerous thing. If she did not leave with Ning Shu and Nuan, then the plot would not progress. The mission would not be completed. She would stay in this world forever until her soul power and life points were depleted. However, if she left, then the plot would allow her to be with Nuan. How could she escape the plot? Ning Shu felt that Gong Luo actually wanted to get rid of Nuan. However, the powerful plot made Gong Luo helpless. He even felt that he loved Nuan without any dignity. Gong Luo was cold and wise. However, with Nuan, he felt that he had lost his intelligence. The things he did were very childish. It was true that people in love had a negative IQ. To sleep or not to sleep, to sleep or not to sleep, to sleep or not to sleep, to sleep or not to sleep. If she did not sleep, then the plot would not progress. She would stay in the plot forever until her soul power was depleted and she was waiting for death. If she slept, then she would have to take responsibility. It would be the same as in the plot. How could she change the plot? To sleep or not to sleep, 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 using a man's body to sleep with a girl? Ning Shu pulled at his hair. I choose to die. Ning Shu walked over to Nuan with a glass of wine in his hand and sat beside her. Nuan was a little drunk. When she saw a man appear beside her, her expression turned cold. Go away, there's no need for service here. Ning Shu didn't say anything. Nuan turned her head and saw a man sitting beside her. He was tall and handsome, and his side profile was charming. His eyes sparkled in the dim bar. Noble and proud. Nuan patted Ning Shu on the shoulder and said, You're so good-looking. Why are you doing this kind of work? Nuan looked at this man and thought of her scumbag ex-boyfriend and her shameless best friend. The two of them flaunted their affection in front of her every day, and that scumbag even said that she was a hypocrite. How much do you charge for a night? I'll cover you, Ning Shu asked after Nuan struggled for a while. Ning Shu nearly choked on his saliva and cried. Damn, the female lead also chose her partner. Before she appeared, she didn't think of looking for a gigolo. Now that he appeared, he was being treated as a gigolo and was even being covered for the night. Ning Shu cleared his throat and said something a domineering CO should say. Woman, you can't afford to sleep with me. I'm very expensive. Nuan rolled her eyes at Ning Shu and gulped down her wine, burping. Ning Shu said drunkenly, I'll cover you for tonight. Nuan said as she awkwardly wrapped her arms around Ning Shu's neck. Aren't you in this line of work? Ning Shu smelled the scent of alcohol on Nuan's body and was very curious as to how Gong Luo managed to eat this woman. He was so drunk that his entire body reeked of alcohol. His appetite was abnormally good. Ning Shu wanted to push Nuan's hands away, but Nuan's hands were tightly wrapped around his neck. It was as if her entire body was leaning against him. Ning Shu wanted to die. She really couldn't do it. It's you. You'll serve me tonight, Nuan said domineeringly. It was obvious that she was very drunk. Ning Shu was speechless. Ning Shu booked a room, then used all his strength to push Nuan's hands away and threw her on the bed. Nuan fell on the bed and moaned. Her face was flushed red and she looked very seductive. Then, Ning Shu lowered his head and looked down. There was a reaction. Ning Shu really wanted to die. Only now did he realize that men could really separate their desires from their emotions. Ning Shu didn't care about Nuan on the bed and went straight home. Fuck, he really couldn't do it with a girl. As for Nuan in the hotel, Ning Shu couldn't be bothered. Although Nuan was just a weak woman, other than Gong Luo who had taken her body, no other man could do it. Even her ex-boyfriend couldn't. No wonder her ex-boyfriend cheated on her. Actually, Gong Luo wasn't unhappy. After all, Nuan was wholehearted and even gave her virginity to Gong Luo. Ning Shu was very distressed. What the fuck should he do? What the fuck should he do? What the fuck? When he got home, it was already midnight. Ning Shu pulled the tie around his neck. Thinking about how tiring it was for a man to wear something like this every day, Ning Shu felt a little out of breath. Opening the door, Auntie Li placed the shoes in front of Ning Shu and said, "Sir, Miss Song is here." "Miss Song?" Ning Shu was in a daze for a moment. Only then did he remember that Gong Luo had a fiancée called Song Ning. She was a match for Gong Luo, but compared to the Gong family, the Song family paled in comparison. Gong Luo and Song Ning's marriage was a strong alliance between the two families. It was beneficial for the development of both families. Not to mention, Song Ning loved Gong Luo. Her future husband was so good. Song Ning was envied by her group of sisters. Ning Shu nodded and walked in. He saw a beautiful woman sitting on the sofa. She was slim and had a well-proportioned body. She wore a knee-length skirt, revealing her slender calves. She had delicate ankles and flawless skin. Just by looking at her legs, one could tell that she was a beauty. Ning Shu looked at her face and was stunned. He saw that Song Ning was very beautiful. Her skin was creamy and her facial features together gave people a very beautiful feeling. Her eyes were watery and the corners of her mouth were curved. Her smiling face emitted a lustrous luster under the light, like a beautiful pearl. Ning Shu once again doubted Gong Luo's taste. Why would such a beautiful fiancée like Yuan? To be honest, Song Ning was much prettier than Yuan. Gong Luo. Song Ning walked in front of Ning Shu and naturally took his arm. She raised her head and smiled at Ning Shu. The corners of her eyes were curved. She was very beautiful. Ning Shu's eyes were dazed for a moment. Oh my God, he felt like he was mesmerized. Why are you back so late? Hey, you smell like alcohol. Did you go drinking? Song Ning frowned and said. Ning Shu nodded and asked, why are you looking for me so late? Chapter 410. To be honest, Ning Shu did not know how to interact with Gong Luo's fiancée. Moreover, Song Ning seemed to like Gong Luo a lot, which made things even stranger. It's already midnight. Do you have something important to say? Ning Shu looked at Song Ning and asked. Otherwise, she would not have waited until midnight. Song Ning sat on the sofa and leaned back. Her petite body seemed to be embedded into the sofa. She said, I haven't seen you in a long time. I came to see you. There's a family gathering this weekend. I came specifically to look for you. Uncle and Auntie will be there. Song Ning frowned. Her expression carried the charm of a little girl, but also an indescribable naivety. She was really a beautiful woman. Even to Ning Shu, Song Ning was a very beautiful and elegant woman. She made people's hearts go soft and itch. How much glory did the female lead, Yuan, have to defeat Song Ning? She defeated a woman who was prettier, wealthier, and more capable than her. Ning Shu said, for this kind of thing, you can just make a call. You don't have to wait until now. Song Ning stood up and stood in front of Ning Shu. She raised her small face. Her face was like a lotus petal, fresh and moving. Ning Shu felt his heart go numb. He even had a feeling that he was going to fall in love with this woman in front of him. Ning Shu quickly shook his head. Oh my, I'm a woman. How can I fall in love with a woman? Song Ning frowned. She seemed to be dissatisfied with Ning Shu's reaction. She frowned and said, I haven't seen you in a long time. I came to see you. Song Ning counted on her fingers. She seemed to be counting how long it had been since they last met. Then, she used her jade-white finger to poke Ning Shu's chest. Can't I come to see you? Ning Shu was speechless. So it was so tough to dress as a man. Not only did it feel awkward, but he also had to face all kinds of girls. It was too tiring to love. Ning Shu grabbed Song Ning's hand that was poking his chest. It hurt a lot. Song Ning furrowed her brows. A trace of displeasure flashed across her face, but she quickly smiled. It's already so late. Either you send me back, or I'll stay here. Ning Shu was about to offer to drive her home when Song Ning yawned. I'm tired. I'll ask Auntie Li to prepare a guest room for me. Ning Shu's lips twitched. He asked Auntie Li to prepare a guest room for Song Ning. Ning Shu felt very hungry and tired, so he prepared to go upstairs to rest. After taking a quick bath, Ning Shu laid on the spacious bed and stared at the ceiling. Ning Shu pulled at his hair, thinking about this quest. This mission was simply too difficult. It didn't matter if he slept or not. He really wanted to die. Ning Shu's head hurt from thinking about it. Why not just let the second male lead sleep with the female lead? But with the way the plot was going, the second male lead probably wouldn't be able to sleep with her. Ning Shu turned over and heard knocking sounds on the door. Ning Shu got up and opened the door. He saw Song Ning in white pajamas. Ning Shu asked directly, "What's the matter?" "It's late. Go to sleep. Don't try to cause trouble." Song Ning furrowed her brows. She said gloomily, "Gong Luo, you don't love me. You don't have any feelings for me. Then let's break off the engagement." Ning Shu was a little impatient. "Since you want to break off the engagement, then let's do it." Then he closed the door with a bang. Outside the room, Song Ning's expression was ugly. How could this be? Song Ning touched her face. Gong Luo was actually indifferent. She had investigated. Gong Luo and that woman, and Nguyen, were not related yet. Why was he still so cold to her? No matter what, she had to make Gong Luo like her. Song Ning regretted saying that she wanted to break off the engagement. If she didn't have the status of fiancé, how could she get close to Gong Luo? She really didn't know what was so good about Nguyen that Gong Luo liked her so much. Song Ning returned to her room gloomily. She clenched her fists. She had to get Gong Luo. Ning Shu didn't know what Song Ning was thinking. He didn't sleep well the whole night. The next morning, his beard was unshaven. Ning Shu hurriedly shaved his beard. Then he cut his handsome face, leaving a red mark. Looking at his handsome face in the mirror, he decided to just ruin it. The female lead probably wouldn't like him. Without his charming face, the female lead naturally wouldn't like him. Moreover, the female lead was someone who treated money like dirt. Just having money wasn't enough. It was really a tragedy to ruin his beauty. Ning Shu patted his face. It wasn't easy to be handsome. He couldn't ruin it. When Gong Luo came back and saw his handsome face ruined, how could he face life? Especially for a public figure like Gong Luo, who would appear on TV, magazines, and newspapers at any time. After putting on his clothes, Ning Shu went downstairs. He saw that Song Ning had already woken up. When she saw Ning Shu, Song Ning smiled brightly. This smile was warm and seemed to be able to dispel the haze in one's heart. Even Ning Shu felt like he was going to be healed by this smile. He felt like he couldn't control himself. Damn, don't lust after a woman's body. Ning Shu nodded to Song Ning. He sat opposite Song Ning and prepared to eat breakfast. Song Ning pushed the milk in front of Ning Shu and said, "Don't drink coffee in the morning. Drink milk. It's good for your body." Ning Shu couldn't drink the bitter coffee and obediently drank the milk. Song Ning saw that Ning Shu was obedient. She smiled, but then her expression became a little gloomy. Ning Shu and Song Ning ate breakfast in silence. Song Ning kept looking at Ning Shu. Ning Shu wiped his mouth with a tissue and said to Song Ning, "If you have something to say, just say it." Song Ning's face was bitter. She supported her chin and said, "Gong Luo, last night when I said that I wanted to cancel the engagement, I was just joking. Don't take it seriously." Ning Shu nodded. "I know. The marriage between our two families isn't that simple." Song Ning's expression became even gloomier. Why was this person so stubborn? She had loved him for so many years in vain. After breakfast, Ning Shu went to work. He didn't have a clue about the mission, so he could only learn how to work. It was always good to learn more. But not long after, Song Ning walked in front of Ning Shu in an office lady suit. Ning Shu looked at her. "From today onwards, I will be your secretary." Song Ning turned in front of Ning Shu. Ning Shu asked, "Gong Luo, do I look good in a secretary's suit?" Ning Shu nodded. "Very good." Song Ning was the kind of person who had very good skin. The black suit on her made her skin look even fairer. The contrast of white and black made her look even more beautiful. Especially when she smiled, it made people's hearts tremble. Ning Shu chanted Amitabha in his heart. She was really beautiful. He couldn't understand why Gong Luo didn't like Song Ning. Song Ning looked at Ning Shu with a helpless expression. "If you don't think I look good, you don't have to be so perfunctory. You do look good." Ning Shu praised sincerely. Song Ning was speechless. "Sincere my ass." Chapter 411. Ning Shu thought it would be fine with Song Ning as his secretary, but after a while, the head secretary brought another secretary, and this secretary was actually Enwan. When he saw Enwan, Ning Shu felt uncomfortable. The plot actually sent Enwan to him. Nothing had happened between them that night. Song Ning also felt uncomfortable. Her eyes wandered between Ning Shu and Enwan. Could it be that they already had sex? Song Ning stomped her feet angrily. Why was Enwan still haunting him like a ghost? When the head secretary introduced Ning Shu to Enwan looked at Ning Shu and felt that this man was very familiar. She felt like she had seen him somewhere before. From now on, you will be in charge of serving the CEOT, the head secretary said to Enwan. Enwan nodded, her eyes fixed on Ning Shu's face. Ning Shu lifted his eyelids and said coldly, "Have you seen enough?" Hearing this voice, Enwan finally remembered that this person was actually a gigolo. She thought he was a gigolo. Enwan wanted to find a hole to hide in because she really couldn't stand the jerk and her toxic best friend. She didn't stay in her original company and applied for a job at the Miyagi Group, but she didn't expect her future boss to be a gigolo. Enwan's face turned red. When she woke up this morning, there was no one by her bed. Enwan felt that she was too drunk and didn't feel anything. Now that she saw her gigolo boss, Enwan wanted to die. "If there's nothing else, you can leave." Ning Shu waved his hand. He was having a headache. Song Ning's eyes were fixed on Enwan. When Enwan left, Song Ning asked Ning Shu, "Do you know her?" She acted as if she knew you. Ning Shu saw the hurt and wronged look on Song Ning's face and his head hurt even more. He said, "I don't know her." He didn't expect that as a man, he could enjoy the treatment of being surrounded by beautiful women. However, Ning Shu's heart was bitter. She didn't want it at all. Song Ning pouted and looked at Ning Shu. She reached out and wrapped her arms around his neck. She said in an aggrieved tone, "Ning Shu, you are my fiancé. You can only be mine." When Song Ning said this, her expression was domineering and she acted like a spoiled little girl. It was not repulsive at all. When he got closer, Ning Shu smelled the fragrance on Song Ning's body. It was not the fragrance of perfume, but more like the fragrance of a human body. It was a natural body fragrance, and her breath smelled like orchids. Ning Shu's heart trembled. She really was a top-quality woman. He couldn't understand why the original owner didn't like her so much. Ning Shu pulled Song Ning's hand away from his neck. Why couldn't they talk things out? "You're the young miss of the Song family. Don't mess around here. You can't be a secretary." Ning Shu said helplessly. Song Ning's eyes flashed with speechlessness and gloominess. She couldn't understand why Gong Luo was so indifferent to her. Was it because she wasn't beautiful enough? Impossible. Of course I have to stay here to guard you, in case some vixen takes you away. Song Ning said again. Ning Shu was even more helpless. What vixen? How shameless must she be to go after a girl? Song Ning frowned. Her gaze swept over Ning Shu's face inch by inch. Suddenly, Ning Shu asked, "Gong Luo, as your fiancé, I have the right to know if you like men." Ning Shu really wanted to say that he liked men. He felt that Song Ning was different from the Song Ning in the novel. In the novel, Song Ning saw her fiancé marry another woman and became so jealous that she turned evil. Naturally, she was destroyed by the male lead. However, he didn't expect Song Ning to be such a beautiful woman. The male lead was willing to lay his hands on her. Song Ning went out. She walked to the pantry and looked at Enwan, who was practicing making coffee. She sized her up. Song Ning pursed her lips. She was really ordinary. A very ordinary woman. Why did Gong Luo like this woman and not want such a good woman like her? He was fucking blind. Enwan felt that someone was sizing her up. She turned around and saw Song Ning's deep gaze. When she saw Song Ning, Enwan felt that she was very beautiful and felt inferior. She thought of her best friend. A beautiful and flirtatious woman seduced her boyfriend and even showed off in front of her. Song Ning smiled and sized Enwan up. Enwan felt that she was going to be stripped naked by the other party. This feeling was very unpleasant. Enwan greeted Song Ning and said, "Hello, I'm Enwan. Nice to meet you." Song Ning said, "Hello." The atmosphere suddenly became silent. Enwan picked up the coffee and said, "I'll go bring the coffee to the CEO first." She walked around Song Ning and went to the CEO's office. Song Ning looked at Enwan's back. She leaned against the wall and looked at Enwan's back. Her eyes were strange, and there was a cold smile on her lips. She ran her fingers through her hair. Standing in front of the carved door of the office, Enwan took a deep breath and then pushed the door open. She saw the man sitting in the office leather chair, looking carefully at the documents. He was wearing a well-tailored suit and had a handsome face. He looked like a god. Enwan wanted to die. She must have been out of her mind to treat this man as a gigolo. And they even had that kind of relationship. It was so awkward. Enwan placed the coffee on Ning Shu's table. She took a deep breath and said to Ning Shu, "Well, the CEO." Ning Shu turned to look at Enwan. He saw that her face was extremely embarrassed. She was sweating and blushing. He asked, "What's the matter?" He really wanted to fire Enwan. Enwan grabbed her clothes with one hand and looked a little nervous. She said, "Well, about what happened last night, can you pretend that nothing happened?" Ning Shu was speechless. Ning Shu wiped his face and said, "If you're talking about treating me as a gigolo, I don't mind." Enwan let out a sigh of relief and said, "Also, about the hotel." "The hotel?" Ning Shu looked at Enwan's face, which was so red that it was about to explode. He didn't know if it was from anger or embarrassment. Ning Shu's mind exploded. The veins on his forehead throbbed. He said speechlessly, "Don't tell me you think that we—" Ning Shu pointed at himself and then at Enwan. "You're thinking too much." Enwan's face immediately turned red, mixed with shame and indignation. She said angrily, "Don't talk about it anymore. Can you just forget about it?" The veins on Ning Shu's forehead throbbed again. "I think you're mistaken. Nothing happened between us." Yes, nothing happened." Enwan let out a long breath. "Let's forget about each other." Ning Shu was speechless. "What the fuck?" Ning Shu gritted his teeth. Why was Enwan so sure that something had happened between them? Ning Shu clearly remembered that he didn't take off Enwan's clothes. He left her in the hotel room and left. Could it be that someone took off her clothes later? You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.